Hey, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Let's Talk Morning Show with me, John, and Dennis. And this is the weekly show where we just get together, we answer your questions, and we talk movies. We used to talk a little bit of wrestling, but we're going to move past that a little bit, even though I do have to ask Dennis one quick question. Were you fooled with our truth?
I actually was 100%. Um, it was. I thought it was over, to be honest. But here he is. He's back, making big changes, man.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that, honestly. Like, they actually, yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a swerve, but they kind of got us in a way. And, it actually makes you have to pay attention to the show. Like, you bitch and moan and things like that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it was good on him. They fooled me for a bit there. So happy the guy's back. He deserves it.
Yep, and he's back to being Ron Killings.
Yeah, which is cool. I hope that they do something. Their writing hasn't been so great lately. So hopefully he doesn't just die in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. If you just make him not feel relevant anymore and let him fade to the background, that's what could end up happening. That's what
Yeah.
Vince used to do.
Yep.
Nothing like to listen to John and Dennis on a Tuesday morning while smoking a cigarette and drinking a fresh cup of coffee. That's Johnny Balls. He loves that. Can you smell what John and Dennis are cooking? What's up, Haunted Pillow? Mr. Smelly Potato, what's up, buddy? Good morning. Kevin's here. What's up, John? What's up, Kevin? Glad you guys could all make it in. And yeah, let's do the first question of the week because we're going to really just concentrate on a Q&A and then let that like kind of lead in the questions. And then after Dennis leaves, we'll do the digital code giveaway. And I'll answer some questions that like Dennis can't really answer, like some 4K questions we were discussing. But here's one I think we were just talking about we should really get into. And this is not that. That's the wheel. But this.
We'll get into that later.
Favorite comedy movies of the 90s. And this is from Family Life. And, me and you grew up in the 1990s. So I'm sure our lists are pretty similar. I didn't really make a list. I just kind of wrote down what I thought some of the best comedies were in the 90s because I think that's the best decade for it.
Yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about before. As I was, looking back at lists of, all the comedies that came out in the 90s, I kind of came to the realization too that I arguably think it might be one of the best decades, if not the best decade for comedy, because you had, as we talked about, you had Adam Sandler, you had Jim Carrey, you had I feel like the SNL kind of comedians were really coming into their own in terms of movies. And also, we are a little biased, like you said. We grew up in the 90s, so these are the films that as a kid we watched and made us laugh. So we might have a little bit of bias towards them, but then again, same thing. I didn't make a full-blown list because otherwise this would just be talking about, the entirety of three comedians' work. But we have a couple films on here I know we both mentioned, like I know we both mentioned Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Adam Sandler blew up in the 1990s. Basically, he had SNL before that. And then I think they were 95 and 96, both those movies. Is a reason why his company's called Happy Madison Films, or is it what is it? Yeah, Happy Madison Films is because of
Mhm.
those two movies. They were the ones that put him on the map. But then he just after that he had so many other ones too. I love The Wedding Singer. That's actually my favorite of his.
Yeah, that one's a classic. That's one too that we love, and it's same thing. Me and the siblings quote it all the time. I mean, it's that's why this was so hard, right? Because he had Big Daddy, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Wedding Singer. Like this guy just
Waterboy. Like
Waterboy, like couldn't miss in like all of these films. Nowadays, I understand, some of the films that come out that are newer, not what they used to be, but in the 90s, this guy, he could not miss. Which makes me a little nervous because, I'm sure you've seen we're getting a Happy Gilmore too.
yeah, I am a little bit nervous, but I think that Adam Sandler's brand, if you like Adam Sandler, it still works. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. Like, what was it, Hubie Halloween that came out a couple of years ago? I
Yeah.
watched that and I laughed, and I heard a sequel's coming, and I'm gonna watch that. Like, I still like watching Adam Sandler do his thing. I get it. Like, why people fall off of them. Yes, they're not as good as they were in the 90s. Sure, that's when he peaked, but I still get a charm out of him. And it also makes it easier when you know that he's like a nice guy.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny. I'm happy that you brought up Hubie Halloween because remember watching that when it came out. Same thing, because I'm just like, you know what? I give everything that Adam Sandler does a chance just because, like you said, seems like a good guy. Really loved him growing up. He's one of those like he was our childhood. Like every movie was an Adam Sandler movie. Everything we quoted and laughed about was him. And my friends break my balls all the time. I'm like, because I say Hubie Halloween wasn't that bad. I know it wasn't a masterpiece. I know it wasn't his best work, but I don't think it deserves to be like called a dumpster fire.
No, and it captures the actual Halloween feeling, like the tone, like the fall. Like when you put that on, it feels like October, and I think that's great. Like, yeah, is it like him playing with like the similar stuff with the accents that he does and all that? Yeah, of course. But if you're into that, it's fine. It's on Netflix, and you didn't pay money to go see it in theaters or anything. Just enjoy it. It's a good time.
Yeah, that's all it is. And I think that all of his comedies, again, he really dominated the 90s, but also we just talked about another comedian who blew up and really dominated the 90s was Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, and that would be number one for me was Jim Carrey in '94. You had Ace Ventura in February. In July, you had The Mask, and then in December, what I still think is the greatest comedy of all time is Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, dude, how crazy. Like all in one calendar year. How
Yeah,
insane is that?
and I still quote like everything he did. Like the next year, he does When Nature Calls, and then he had
Mhm.
Liar Liar in '97, and he's the Riddler, but that's not really a comedic performance. I mean, it's got some funny moments, but then of course, that's when it was peak comedy was for Jim Carrey was in the 90s. Because then again, he kind of just starts doing dramas, and now all he does is freaking Sonic movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, good for him. He deserves it. He
Yeah.
definitely he did his thing, and now he's got his one little niche that he's doing. I feel like that's kind of what happens to a lot of the older actors and actresses from like the 80s and 90s. They kind of nowadays with all the streaming services, they always have to have a signature like TV series, or a studio has to have a signature kids movie. He landed in Sonic, and he'll just be making Sonic movies till the end of time. Like that's and good for him.
Yeah, those are actually like his literal last three credits are just that, and they ask him why he only does that. He's like, "Yeah, well, I have expensive taste. I got to pay the bills," which I love that. I think that's really funny. But he's doing the old Jim Carrey thing in him, so it's like still fun to see.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
he's an incredible actor, and and then I know I mentioned one on here too, and this is definitely a childhood one, but Little Giants, dude, that film was just growing up. You watch that, and even as an adult, I appreciate a lot of the jokes in it still. So I gotta just honorable mention Little Giants,
the
fantastic comedy.
The last time I remember seeing Little Giants was literally with you in your room when like the TV was on the one corner and it was a small like 13-inch TV across from your bed. That's the last time I saw Little Giants. So
Nice, dude.
I,
Yeah, so you're talking a long time ago.
yeah, you were definitely like under the age of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's probably, I mean, I've probably seen it like once or twice since then, but I still love it. It's just, you know what it is? Like, I feel like 90s comedies, even, the Adam Sandler, the Jim Carreys, the Little Giants, even we'll talk about some Chris Farley stuff too, but like, I feel like it wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. It felt like everyone was just having fun doing it. It didn't feel like it was tied down by like, we need this to perform, we need this to be a box office hit. It genuinely felt like everyone making these films was just having a great time making them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's exactly what made the 90s so special. Like you said, Tommy Boy is one where Chris Farley and David Spade, like they were buddies. Nutty Professor came out in the 90s. That was huge.
Yeah, another hilarious film. And again, like if you go back and look at it, I could see, like a critical film fan like ripping these movies apart because they are ridiculous, but they're comedies. And to me, I think this was the last time that comedies actually just like felt funny. I feel like a lot of modern day comedies, I don't really find that funny. I don't laugh as hard as the last person to like really make movies that make me laugh would probably be like Will Ferrell, Anchorman, and stuff like that. Because I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what the most recent comedy release I've watched was because they just don't appeal to me as much as these 90s, early 2000s comedies do.
No, there really aren't many. There's some HML Bilecki, somebody who follows the channel, will always give me comedy recommendations because of like he'll find like similar 90s comedies. And like I don't know if you heard of the movie Ricky Stenicki that came out last
Yes,
year.
with
That
John
actually had
Cena.
John Cena. That was actually really funny. And that's because it was, I think, by one of the Furley brothers. So it's like the guys who made Dumb and Dumber made that. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And Mr. Smelly Potato said Mrs. Doubtfire. Robin Williams was all over the 1990s. The Birdcage is one of my favorite ones from that decade too. I mean, Jumanji is like a childhood favorite of mine.
Oh my God, yeah. How could you? Yeah, Jumanji, and not the remake Rock ones. We're talking the OG, terrifying in the board game. Like that was. another huge childhood film. Saw that, countless number of times. And Robin Williams, one of those guys that I think he just got it. Like he knew how to be funny. It was just in his blood to be funny because everything he did was just awesome.
Yeah, and like you see him in interviews, he can't help but do the impressions. I mean, Aladdin. Like I just rewatched that. It's like he's just hysterical throughout the entire thing. Good morning, John Doe Juggler. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Glad to see you made it here, Jeff. What else was out in the 1990s that we didn't talk about yet? Like I think we got all the big ones at least, like that everybody can remember from the 1990s that were at least those are the ones that like influenced me. Like I think everyone's sense of humor is different. Things we find funny. I've always leaned more towards I find stupider things funny than serious things.
Yeah, and it's funny actually. This is something that my wife gets really angry because, like, I love like Family Guy, right? Because that's a
Yeah, me too.
continuation basically of that kind of potty humor.
Yeah,
And they'll just be like in the middle of a scene and then Peter farts, and I will literally piss my pants laughing at that, and she'll be like, "I don't get it. Why was that funny? There's no point to that." And I'm like, "That's why it's funny."
exactly. I remember like I was telling people my old like years ago, like 15 years ago, telling somebody like how I thought Dumb and Dumber was the funniest thing, and the girl's like, "I never saw that movie because my parents saw it in theaters when it came out, and they walked out." I was like, "They walked out of Dumb and Dumber, and your family's been cursed with never seeing Dumb and Dumber since." I'm like, "You are missing out because that is the best comedy film of all time." But that's where sense of humor comes in, like that some people find like that dry British sense of humor funny, which sometimes I do, but for the most part, if it's stupid, I'm gonna laugh at it.
Yeah, I think that it's like I have the same thing. It's really like dumbed down. Like I say potty humor because it literally just like farts and like throw up and it's hilarious. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think is funny. Like fart jokes and boner jokes is just hilarious.
Like
And that's what like
offensive
all
sense of humor is funny. I like that stuff. Like Family Guy loves to do like Family Guy and South Park. I love those shows, but they can get away with it because they literally hold nothing back on anybody.
Oh yeah, big time. And forgot to mention too, Austin Powers, dude.
Oh yeah, them and Wayne's
Speaking
Mike
of,
Myers, Wayne's World was that too. Yeah, that's crazy. The 90s, yeah, that was his decade too.
yeah, dude, I just did a little search here while we were talking to see what else was there. I totally forgot. I actually funny got in trouble for watching Austin Powers because when it came out, I was like 5 and my parents were like, "No, I don't think that you should be watching this." And so I actually put it on. It was on like TNT one night, and I put it on TV in my bedroom. And stupid little, 5-year-old me was like, "They'll never know I'm watching it." And then, every night I fell asleep. Guess who came into my bedroom to turn my TV off?
Oh my god, your dad.
Yeah. So he walks in, and guess what's on the TV while I'm asleep?
you
So that was a
made a
that was a
mistake.
little. Yeah, a little miscalculation on that one, but yeah, he was all over it too, dude. Wayne's World is one of the more well-known comedies, and obviously every Austin Powers. I don't think they were all '90s movies. Some of them crept into the early 2000s, but he those films too. I mean, they're so stupid, but that's why I think they're so funny.
Yeah, no, the jokes are dumb, but I mean, if you're a James Bond fan, they're so funny. I mean, I the scene of him just explaining like what his dad did to him, like and how like fucked up his childhood. He's like, "Oh yeah, pretty standard stuff." Like, he used to say just obscene things, like he invented the question mark. It's like it's so random.
And it's so good. Oh my God. Yeah, no, that stuff is awesome. It's the one of the funny ones too. I don't remember which film it's from, but remember when he's trying to turn that card around in the hallway?
Oh yeah, and he looks back every single time.
Yeah, it's that stupid stuff that I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is a funny film. So I think that was a great question because and a really hard one to answer because the '90s was just stacked, dude. Like it would any famous comedy you think of, odds are it's from the '90s.
I agree. I completely agree. At least for us, like, and then yeah, the 2000s is Will Ferrell. That's when he takes off, and I think he ruled that decade. But the 90s had a bunch of different players.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. And then I think you're right. It's weird. It kind of does feel like it went into more like single standout comedians. Like Will Farrell definitely took over, and then well, maybe it wasn't single standout because then I feel like that Seth Rogen group, like the Super Bad movie and everything.
Oh yeah, Seth Rogen and all them, like the Jonah Hills, like they all blew up at the same exact time. What was that director's name? I'm drawing a blank, but like he was the one, like he did the 40-Year-Old Virgin, Superbad. He directed all of them, and then like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg were writing them, and they're still around. They just did the studio together. Like they're the same exact team from back then. So if you like that humor, you'll like the studio.
Yeah, which it's weird. I feel like I liked the first few, but then it started like 40-Year-Old Virgin, I think is hilarious. Superbad, love that film too. I think it's a really funny. There's a lot that I quote. I really think in that Seth Rogen and Bill Hader's performance as
Judd
the
Apatow.
knuckle
That's
Judd
it.
Apatow. Um their performance as like the dumb cops in Superbad is so funny.
The best part of that movie is them.
Yeah, 100%. That would have been a hilarious spin-off movie or like short series. Just them being, like, it was so, so funny.
Oh,
Later, it started to get a little, like, I don't know, they started to get more into like the Knocked Up and This Is 40 and those films that I was like, not a huge fan of, not hating on them, but I think around that time is when comedy kind of fell off for me and I stopped really indulging because I didn't think it was that funny.
it started to become more dramedies. Like I think it was like the movie that he did with Adam Sandler actually, with Judd Apatow, where they were trying out like Funny People, I think it was called, and
Mm,
Seth Rogen lost the weight. I remember them making a big deal about that. And I was like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not what I'm used to with Seth Rogen. Like, I'm used to Pineapple Express. Like, I think Pineapple Express is still one of the most rewatchable comedies of that time as well.
yeah, 100% agree. Pineapple Express was hilarious. But I think that was the cutoff. It was those
Yeah.
films there, and then they dove, like you said, into Funny People and into stuff that I just feel like is very cookie cutter, like a couple of jokes in the beginning, a lot of drama in the middle, and then maybe a joke to send us home.
Yep. I think you know what it is. Actually, now that I think about it, because Danny McBride was in Pineapple Express, all of his comedy kind of shifted to TV. And like, and he
Mm.
started the movies he worked on. We can thank him, for such great shows like on Righteous Gemstones. But he also is why we have Halloween Ends. So that's horrible.
It's a double-edged sword there. Do we thank
Yeah.
him or are we mad at him?
I'm still mad about Cody, man.
Dude, I can't. That was, yeah, that unfortunately will be a discussion in a few months when Halloween actually comes up and we talk about those films. I'm sure we'll have a lot of negativity.
Yeah, like I said, ups and downs, ups and downs.
Yeah.
So that was a great question, and this one's from Mr. Smelly Potato, the channel bankroll member. What do you think are the most iconic movie characters of all time, and what is a movie you think everyone has heard of?
That's like tough, but I thought about it. I could have gone a couple different ways. I ultimately decided that the most, to me, iconic movie character of all time, I'm gonna say Batman.
See, I had Batman at number 2 on the list at a tie with the Joker because I always felt like they kind of go hand in hand, and no matter what Batman we get, the first question is when are we getting the Joker?
That is true. So that's the thing that's tricky about it because, like, now, modern times, superhero movies are so big that I feel like the cop out answer would be everybody knows Captain America, everybody knows Spider-Man, everyone. But I think Batman was like the original like superhero to start it, and I feel like growing up, every single kid you knew Batman, had seen the Batman movie. Like that was Batman was basically like exclusively the superhero of our childhood. And I feel like even as it went on, like every time a new Batman movie gets announced, people get excited. There's a ton of hype around it. And you could argue a lot of other iconic characters, but I just think if you're talking broad spectrum in terms of film, the people who are hardcore into it, the people who are very passive about it, every single person in the world knows who Batman is.
Oh, completely agree. And I think it goes in decades because, at the late 1970s, they had Superman, then they had nothing. Batman comes out in 1989, and that's really it. Like, that ruled the 90s. We got other movies like Blade came out in the 90s. That's great. Me and you are like the only two people who love Spawn. And the rest of them is just not as much. And then finally, like in the 2000s, we start to get other stuff like Spider-Man comes along in the early 2000s. But really, if you grew up in the 90s, it was Batman. And like, I mean, I saw Batman and Robin in theaters and I bought the VHS. I'm not ashamed to say it. A little ashamed, but I'm not.
That's all right. When we
This
get
is a good
to
question. Actually,
what?
Ryan Swayze said, "What villains would we going to see in Batman 2? Like, do you want to see the Joker again? Like, I know they set it up, but do you actually want to see that? Or are you kind of like burnt out on that?"
I think I don't know. The problem with me is I'm definitely one of those people that Heath Ledger did it best. And I know there's some people who say Jack Nicholson did, some people think Jared Leto did it. And I know they're all different worlds, all different iterations of it and everything. I just think that Heath Ledger's was so good that it's going to be very difficult. Now, if there is any film crew, filmmaker, director, writer that I think could pull off a really good Joker, I think it would be. I don't know who did the most recent release with what the hell is the actor's name? Who's
Robert
Batman?
Pattinson.
Robert, yeah. I
Matt
think
Reeves.
I think they could do because honestly, their Riddler was really cool.
Oh, I love what they did, and it felt like, I know people were saying it before, that it felt like Seven set, like the Batman universe, or Batman universe set in Seven. I get that, and the Michael Giacchino score, like they kind of grounded it in reality, but it felt like a Batman movie, which is good because like always what happens is, like, not really Batman Begins, but Batman 89, The Dark Knight, they kind of become Joker movies. That's why I kind of like put them on the same spectrum, because people just always wait for the Joker. But I would be cool to like seeing like Clayface like in a new like I've heard that rumor too. And I watched the Batman animated series. I love that. And the Clayface episodes are great. And I would love to actually see that in a film. Don't worry, once Spawn comes to 4K, there will be all kinds of old fans. Yeah, I don't want all these new fans of Spawn coming out on the 4K. Like, you weren't there. Like, we have a video, me and Dennis, proving that we love that movie from 2022.
Dude, we've been saying it forever. I have all the comic books in my bedroom right now. I love Spawn. I cannot believe, with everything going on, I think, to me, Deadpool was the gateway. Deadpool made rated R superhero movies possible and proved that they can be profitable. And Spawn is the perfect opportunity to make an actual, because I know the problem is when we did our Spawn video, I think you talked about that really, really terrible horror movie that Jared Leto did, where he's like a vampire superhero or something.
Yeah, I really hate that movie. Morbius. That was
Yes.
Jared Leto's. Yeah, that was terrible. And that's just like, some superheroes don't deserve like their movies, but Spawn, I feel like, was popular enough. We're getting another Fantastic Four reboot, which I'm glad. Like, I get it. Like, we've missed, I guess, a lot of people, fans that we've missed so many times. Like, they really want a good one, but it's like we haven't even tried again with Spawn. It's just like we left it there to die.
Yeah, which is crazy to me because, again, it's like the perfect time for him because now he can actually be a scary, violent guy, like rated R, even Peacemakers, rated R kind of thing. Spawn, he fits that mold perfectly. He's an incredible superhero. You literally have the actor ready to go. I think Michael B. Jordan could be him in a heartbeat. Like, the guy is hot as hell right now. He's in everything. He could easily carry Spawn, whether it be a series, whether it be a couple movies, whatever it is. I cannot believe that Spawn is not coming back, and especially because, honestly, the film, for when it came out, with the exception, if you go back and watch our video, we talk about the little Spawn minion scenes in hell, which are hot garbage. But aside from that, the film is really shot quite well.
Yeah, I really have always enjoyed the look of that film. Yeah, there's some horrible CGI of the time, but I mean, if you're going and watching movies of that time, you got to kind of expect it. Even the good ones have it in there. It's just, we thought we were hot shit. Like, we got this new technology, and really, we don't even learn from the lines in Jurassic Park ever. We just only thought if we could do it. We never thought if we should do it, because it looks terrible. But you know what? It's part of the charm.
Yeah, yeah. And even I think Call of Duty actually had a release where they put Spawn in as a playable character.
Yeah,
So,
I
like,
mean,
how do you not piggyback off of that? Like, Call of Duty is one of the biggest video games in the world, obviously.
Fortnite.
Well, yeah, Fortnite too. Like, how do you
Wasn't
have
Darth
Spawn
Vader
in there?
running around in freaking Fortnite being a racist or something like that? Because the AI, I heard.
I can't keep up, dude. Fortnite does. Peter Griffin's in Fortnite, so who the hell knows? They do whatever they want over there.
And it's the Wild West. So apparently, Todd McFarlane's been trying to get Spawn made for years. I've heard about that, and also like him having, like, he had the animated series, and that's his baby. He made Spawn, so he holds on to the rights, and I don't know, just no one ever wants to fund it.
Well, tell them to call us. I got about $50 I'll give them
Yeah,
towards funding.
yeah, if we combined our money, we can probably get to about 60, 65 then.
I mean, listen, that's a start, right?
Yeah, but we kind of got a little off topic because, the other one I want, like, Darth Vader's another big, like, I feel like that's got to be up there as most iconic too, right?
Yeah, he's up there. And when we talk about quotes later, some of the quotes from Star Wars in general, I have too, because I do think Star Wars, like, just given that it was the whole world when it came out, and it still is I mean, I feel like more people are fans of that than aren't. And I mean, even myself, I did not watch any Star Wars until I did the reviews for the channel with you. And he's by far like the coolest part of Star Wars. So gotta put him up there.
Yeah, they got the villain right out of the gate. Yeah, he's up there. For me, the T-800, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of the Terminator, is one of the most iconic characters of all time. And of course, we'll get to his iconic line soon. But whenever I see Arnie, that's what I think of. I'll always think of the T-800, that little beautiful red eye.
Yeah, well, that was written perfectly for him, because he is so robotic in his tone already. So really
Yeah.
nailed it. But yeah, I mean, those are. I mean, you could also dive into The Godfather, Marlon Brando's Godfather, super iconic. Everybody knows him. I mean, honorable mention for Shamrock Balls, the shark.
See, I didn't know
Bruce.
if I didn't know if I could put Bruce on the list if like that counted. Like I was like, he is iconic, but I didn't know if you picked like the actors. Like,
Listen, he's a character. He is as much a character in that as anybody else. So Bruce the Shark, let's go.
do you guys think Star Wars can redeem itself in film? I don't know. I really don't know if Disney knows what the hell they're doing over there, and they really let me down because I'm one of those people. I truly love The Force Awakens still and Rogue One. They came out of the gate so hot, and then it died a horrible, horrible, violent, disgusting death.
I think the problem for Star Wars, and this is like not even as a super fan, as you know, I'm pretty much indifferent on Star Wars. I watch them all for the channel, and they're like I enjoyed them, but I'm not like diehard. I think that they fell into the same trap as everything else. Streaming services just wanted to gobble the rights up to everything they possibly could. Disney in particular has bought everything under the sun, and they're just trying to pump stuff out because they want new content to continue making money. And Star Wars, unfortunately, instead of having a solid team behind it, continuing the legacy, Disney just put whoever they wanted and said, pump this out. We need something new every year, every 6, whatever it is. And it's like the law of diminishing returns. The more you get of something, the less excited you're going to be. The more you're pumping out, the less quality it's going to be. So I unfortunately think that's where Star Wars has landed. And until fresh eyes take over, I'm not hopeful.
No, not me either, unfortunately. But hey, we'll have to wait and see. They're gonna try. They spent $4 billion on it. That's the thing with Marvel and them. Even if like people fall out of favor with these kinds of movies, like superhero films, like kind of on like the back burner right now. People seem to want more original stuff. It's not like they're not gonna try. They spent all that money to get it. We'll always get Batman movies, Spider-Man movies. We'll always get Star Wars movies now. It's not like it was like in the 70s and 80s where they took like think about it. Like George Lucas actually funded like Empire Strikes Back, like himself, like his money. Nobody would do that nowadays. Like they're always gonna have like 46. Like when you start a movie, there's like 10 minutes in front of like an indie film of like 47 people who invested in it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I hope that you're right because I've been kind of on that wagon for a few years now where I feel like nothing. Yeah, Quint, of course. I mean,
That's where I was. Like, who's the most iconic character in Jaws? Like, is it Quint too? Is he the most iconic? Or is it not Brody? Like, he's got the iconic lines.
yeah, he does. I don't know, but there's some iconic, Hooper drives the boat, Chief. Like that's, the whole entire scene where they talk about their scars and they're just I think Quint is maybe not the most iconic, but he's the most memorable to me. I think a lot of his acting was just impeccable. Um, that whole movie. And, even though I know when you read about it, I think he was drunk half the time and stuff, but made him better.
I mean, it was just a different time where you could just be like drunk on set and like do it or like just do your job. I think we talked about it last week, or I can't remember who, maybe it was David, like about Paul Newman. Like he was just drunk all the time and nobody really ever knew. It's just like the time was people just kind of had like a buzz all day and you just kind of never knew it.
Yeah, they rehydrated with beer. They didn't believe in water back then.
No, it wasn't until all these people came along and said, "No, that's not normal. You're an alcoholic." And they're like, "What? How's this an alcoholic?" But you're drinking all day, every day. Like, are you taking breaks? I sleep. Like,
Oh God, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so I don't know about the whole. Hey, what's up, William?
What's up, buddy? I'm glad you can make it in here. But I mean, this question's a good way to segue into the lines question because they kind of go hand in hand.
Oh yeah. I do have 10, but I didn't rank them because I feel like it's really hard to rank these. Um, because it's, iconic movie lines. So movies obviously in general are well, let's see what this is before we answer.
Yeah, I don't think the risk is worth the reward in investing in big movies now. How much was the budget of Empire Strikes Back? You can make tenfold in return until you're lucky to make double the budget. Yeah. Like what they're spending on movies now, like everyone can talk about all the flaws in Hollywood. I don't want to get too off track of the questions, but this is like just why Hollywood's doing so bad is they invest so much money in what they think people want, and they invest everything, bank the whole studio on put $400 million into a movie, and then they have to make $1 billion to get a profit on it. And it just doesn't make sense. So you could just spend $100 million on that same movie and then get like $200 million back, and then you're successful. But it's like they have to have this big, gigantic return. It's like you're over investing and you're not even understanding your audiences.
Yeah, and I think that you're absolutely right. They're over. You look at every successful, not every, but most successful films that we even talk about here. I mean, we just did the Texas Chainsaw thing. What was the budget for Texas Chainsaw, and how much did they make? Like, yeah, if you only put $1 million into a film, it doesn't sound like. I mean, not today, but you put $1 million into a film and you make 20. That's a pretty big That's a substantial amount of money you just made there. But now, like you said, they need to put 500 million and make $1 billion minimum, otherwise they go belly up. Like you can't do that. You need to fund, like there's a reason there are low budget films, mid budget films, high, but like low budget's fine. It's totally fine to make just a lower budget $100 million film, make 250 million, call it a day. But Hollywood doesn't want to. They want to blow things away and make billions of dollars. And ironically, the more they spend on movies, I think the worse they get.
I know. Well, that's because you take out, like, you give everybody everything, and then you have a bunch of like 10 people making the movie together. You end up losing somebody's vision. Like, it used to be like, okay, we're giving you this much money, figure it out. Like, you got to actually be creative. We're kind of taking the creativeness out of it, like all the CGI effects. Like, that's what ruins everything. Like, they're not actually shooting on sets anymore. They're not actually going to locations anymore. Like, all the stuff that like used to make you creative. Yeah, I get, like, you guys love Jaws, you and David, like, you guys, like, that's your favorite movies of all time. Like, that was a choice to go out and film on the water. And yeah, everybody says it was a nightmare, but you ended up with what could be considered the greatest film of all time. So it's like you lose the creativeness, I feel like.
Yeah. And where does the money go? If you're not spending the money on sets, on set design and realism, does it cost that much to CGI scene? Like, if you're spending $500 million on a film, you can't put some of that budget towards a physical set and some actual physical effects and like practical effects to a film. It's got to all be like just the more money that gets invested, the farther from reality it gets. And I don't know. And the studios have dumped everything they have into Marvel, into DC, into all these superhero films. Now, like you said, we don't have original anymore. We don't have someone like a Toby Hooper, like a Wes Craven, like these guys who literally wrote their movies and then directed it. You have people who write movies, sell the rights to Hollywood, and then Hollywood puts a team of 50 people together. They cut it into a million pieces, make an entirely new film that's completely unoriginal and loses the point. And then the fans realize that, like, we're not stupid. We can watch a film and realize that this was not the original idea.
Yep. And it's funny, the studio kind of did a episode about that where, they worry about these studios, the executives worry about like a checklist of like, I know Hollywood's a big word nowadays, but like woke, but it's true to a sense where it's like they're worrying about making sure they please everybody so that they get no blowback. But by doing that, you also get blowback from everybody. And then you also miss the point. Like the end of the episode was they're all worried about making sure everyone's happy, that they were going to use AI in the movie and didn't realize that that's going to piss people off. So they fucking actually missed the whole point. They're like, well, at least we did most of that, right? Like, and it's like, that's genius because that's what goes on.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's just crazy how
And
they don't
how does it keep getting worse?
Dude, I don't genuinely, I don't, and we talked about it. We were talking about like our guilty pleasure movies or whatever the question was last week. And I said Deep Blue Sea. CGI and that was terrible. Those sharks looked horrible. But you know what? I would take those any day over whatever nonsense they're making today.
Yeah, I'll take the bad looking spawn hell over it today. At least it's only in hell. Like the rest of the time, they're using real sets and everything. Yeah, the cape is CGI and it's way too big, but man, that ballroom's beautiful because it's a real ballroom.
Yeah, and even his suit. His suit looks real. Like, the suit that he's wearing on his actual body looks incredible. The cape,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
By the way, I love that you guys do these early streams. I'm early bird myself. Yeah, it actually, I like to do the early ones too. I feel like I'm the most focused in the morning. Like when I do the ones with Frank, sometimes I worry about like I'm gonna come off tired because I'm asleep by then.
But yeah, so you want to dive into some more iconic movie lines, and actually, I think David mentioned the Brody one, so we could talk about that. The from Jaws, I think one of the most well-known movie lines of all time. Gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah, I had that one up here. I said in me and David's actual show that I thought that my favorite line is "Smile, you son of a bitch." But how is it not? We're gonna need a bigger boat. Like everybody knows that, even if they don't know the movie.
Yeah, I will agree. Smile, you son of a bitch is great. There's a lot. I mean, if you're a fan of the film, there's a lot. Like I said, same thing with, Hooper drives the boat chief, and when he's throwing even before he says we're gonna need a boat, and he's throwing the chum in the water, he's like, "Oh, come throw some of this shit." And then the shark jumps out, like just iconic moments, I guess, with the little lines, but we're gonna need a bigger boat,
Oh,
definitely.
what? Yeah, if you're a fan of the movie, there's just so many. The whole movie's quotable. I mean, what do you do with the Indianapolis speech? What's the most quotable line from that?
Well, I mean the whole thing, really. I mean that whole entire scene. I sing that song, the "Show Me the Way to Go Home" song, just randomly throughout the day, and immediately think of that scene. So yeah, it's hard to pick one, but if I had to, I think it's obvious. Everybody knows we're going to need a bigger boat. People who haven't even seen the movie quote it. It's just got to be absolutely in the top 10 of all time.
Yep, and William Driver has two of mine on my list. Tombstone, "I'll Be Your Huckleberry," by said by Val Kilmer. That's one of the most iconic of the '90s. And then obviously for me, my number one personally, I don't know if it's the most famous. It might be because it's Terminator, but "I'll Be Back." The fact that we almost didn't get that is insane. But yeah, "I'll Be Back" is Arnold Schwarzenegger says that in all of his movies, whether it's freaking Terminator or not. That's how iconic that is.
Yeah, and
Oh, I'm
Ryan's
Batman.
actually I'm Batman. I have that on my list too. Because I almost had
Mrs. Taft. The first Karen.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'll be back and I'm Batman, both on my list because they always in every Batman film, just like you said with Schwarzenegger, he always says I'll be back. Every single Batman film, he says I'm Batman in their best deep voice that they possibly can, which I'm not going to try to mimic, but I'm Batman. I do have on here.
I'm Batman.
Perfect. You should audition. You're up next.
They got a little upset with Michael Keaton's height. I don't know how they're gonna feel about me.
That's all right. You'll make up for it.
I'll make up for it in other ways.
I also have because we were just talking about Star Wars. I do have two Star Wars on here. I'm assuming you have both as well. It's "I Am Your Father" and "May the Force Be with You."
Yes, I had number one on the list, even though it's not. I said it's got to be "No, I am your father." Even though everyone always says, "Luke, I am your father," it's actually "No, I am your father." I mean, that line alone is so iconic. It's a spoiler for the entire franchise without even realizing it, but everybody knows the line.
Yeah, that, and then I almost didn't even put "May the Force Be with You," but then I remember like people do about the actual May the 4th and all that. So I feel like that's up there. Same thing in terms of shock value. Obviously, "I'm Your Father" is definitely top, but I think both of those, even if you're not, like I said, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. And even before seeing the films, I knew both of those lines.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I kind of put my list together is like if I knew the lines, even if I didn't know the film. Like one big one is I have never famously seen Gone with the Wind, and yet I know some of the most famous lines from that movie, even though I've never seen it. Like, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," only because I've seen The Mask and I seen it in The Mask before that. But so even though I've never seen the movie, I know the line, so it's got to go on the list.
Yeah, and it's funny. I almost put that on here. But same thing. I've never seen the film, but I knew that one. There's a couple from like that in Casablanca, like "Here's Looking at You, Kid." Like I know that. I've never seen the film it's in, but I know that. Like
Casablanca's
There's
great. Like I was one like I knew all the lines like you before I saw the movie, and then I went and saw the movie, and I was like, oh no, the movie's still fucking good. That movie would be good today.
Yeah, and like again, iconic line. I mean, you just can't. Same thing. Like, I've only ever seen Wizard of Oz once, but everybody knows there's no place like home.
No, and it's a great line, and it means, or I'll get you, my pretty, and that
Yep.
little dog too. Like, yeah, no, that's iconic. Mhm. Like I always thought, like I saw the line from Casablanca, like because it's spoofs on my. They won't say gin joints, but like of all the gin joints in all the world, she had to walk into mine. Like I've seen that in like Rugrats Go to Paris. Like Chucky says something similar to that. Like it's just like it's so famous. It's spoofed so many times.
Yeah. I mean, I also put a huge one. Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, say hello to my little friend. Yeah, that's
That's it.
iconic.
Yep.
Yeah, all the
Iconic. People who haven't even seen Scarface know that line.
I mean, even in most songs, like "Okay, I'm reloaded," that pops up all the time.
Yep.
Taxi driver, are you talking to me? That.
Yep.
Are you
Mm,
talking to me?
Yep. Another classic one. I also had Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner. Not a
No.
huge fan of the movie, but everybody knows that quote.
Oh well, that also brings me to one of my favorite quotes that I like to use all the time from Roadhouse, which is another great Swayze. Because I can take Swayze lines from all his movies, but one of my favorite lines, is he's not even said by him, is in Roadhouse. He's like, "I used to fuck guys like you in prison." That's great.
I don't know how iconic that is, but it should be. 'Cause that's a good
The Godfather. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah. Oh, this segment is brought to you by all of John's imitations because they are incredible.
Are they? I try. You come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding to ask for a favor.
Yeah, this is your tryout for every remake. If they ever remake these films, this is what you send in.
Well, funny enough, my choice review for Mr. Smelly Potato is Be Kind Rewind, which you probably don't remember this, but remember we went to Florida when we were young, and the one I wanted to actually go see that movie in theaters, but we didn't go for some reason, and I never saw it, so I just watched it for the first time. In that movie, they like blank out all the tapes with like magnetics that they're all gone, and they just remake the movies themselves, basically them saying the lines. Like, so
Nice.
we can do that.
All right, yeah, let's do it. That'll be our next special.
I mean, is there an iconic? I mean, Ghostbusters is filled with iconic lines too.
That is true. Yeah. The only other two I had on here, I had Forrest Gump. Mom always said, "Life's like a box of chocolates."
You never
Everybody
know.
knows that.
Me, my bad impressions. Yeah, that is to rub it off. I always was bothered by the Forrest Gump quote because I mean, does the box of chocolates not come with the map?
Dude, I say the same thing. It tells you exactly what's in it. Not only does it tell you exactly what flavors it has, it tells you exactly where they are and what shape they are.
Exactly. You can't make the mistake. But this is Forrest Gump. Maybe he didn't know about the map. I don't know. He
Yeah.
did have an IQ below 70, despite the fact he's one of the most successful humans ever. I mean, Bubblegum Shrimp is still a success, so he's doing great.
Yeah, he's retired out on that boat, that's for sure.
But Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs. I know, Forrest.
Yeah, that I do love the Lieutenant Dan ice cream.
Ice cream. Yes, this man does have no dick.
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, there's more that obviously we're missing, but in terms of I so here's the question for you. If you were going to say the most iconic of all time, is it I Am Your Father? Is it We're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat?
Those are the top two for me. Like, it's really hard to like pick against those two, like because those without seeing the movies. Like, those are that iconic. So even like I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. That's up there as like the most iconic to as well because people would just say that in everything. Like in every movie, that line pops up. Like people always be like, just like, I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Like you don't even like have to like be serious about it. Like
Yeah,
pops
like
up in every genre.
that's why I didn't number these because I just feel like, even as, our viewers keep throwing lines in there, it's like there's so many and they're all so iconic. And I think that's the thing. And that's what makes them iconic and lands them on this list is people know them. Like we keep saying, these lines without even seeing the film. Some people quote these films and don't even know. Like So my parents just got a new dog, and my mom literally named her Stella. And when we asked her why, she said because she could hear me and my brother yelling, Stella.
Oh,
She has no idea what that's from. She's never seen the movie. Has no, and when I said it's a streetcar named Desire, it's Marlon Brando. She's like, I don't even understand what you just said to me.
I mean, yeah, that's a classic one. It's funny. I had another Marlon Brando, so he's just iconic because I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender. Like that's a classic one too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yippee
Oh,
ki Oh yeah, yippee ki motherfucker. That's a great one.
yep, yep. That's what I mean, dude. There's so many lines that
And then if you
just,
dabble in comedies, like if you're a fan of like quoting comedies, like Anchorman, like just gets better because of the quotes.
dude, that whole film is just filled with one-liners that are just completely requotable. It's just, I all the time I say, wow, that escalated quickly.
Yeah. Go
Brick
fuck
killed the
yourself,
guy.
San Diego. Ron, I have to fire you. And I have to fire you. Bing bang boom. Ron, do you even know what you just said?
We were just talking too. 60% of the time, it works every time.
I'm gonna be honest with you. That just smells like pure gasoline. It's just like, yeah.
What is the
He's
guy
like, yeah, I
yells
ate a
out as
big
the
red
whole
candle.
everyone starts screaming in the office, and someone's like, they say the raccoon got in the copier again or something like that.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that smells like Bigfoot's dick. Like, just all the worst stuff in the world.
Yeah, just I mean, yeah, once you start getting into comedies, it gets really good. But I uh I like our list there. I do agree. I think they're all it's hard. It's really hard to put a top most iconic of all time because I'll be back. I'm Batman. Make him an offer. Gonna need a bigger boat. I'm your father. They're all so big. I mean, those are five right there that I don't think I could decipher between.
No, those are some of the most like those are the most like you can't. And I guess I'm ready for my close up misses. The Mr. DeVille's another big one. If you've never even seen that movie, I like that's one of the Billy Wilder's best films. So there's some classic lines through the decades, like Rosebud. That's a great one, even if you've never seen that movie. Might be a little disappointing to find out what Rosebud is, but hey, the movie's still an all-time classic, one of the greatest of all time.
That it is. That it is. The only other one I had on here was It's Alive, Frankenstein. I feel like everyone knows that too.
Oh yeah, it's alive! It's alive! Yeah, it is. I mean, how many times have they remade Frankenstein without actually like remaking Frankenstein? Like you
Yeah.
could argue when we were talking about iconic characters, the Universal monsters have been iconic since the 30s.
Yeah, I mean, you Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, like all those.
Dracula, they make like 4 Dracula movies a year.
Dude, it's so hard to follow.
Somebody else is making a Dracula movie this year. I know that Guillermo del Toro is doing a Frankenstein movie, but Poor Things was essentially a Frankenstein. Well, that's more like Frankenhooker.
That was actually the test name, but people didn't like it.
No, Frankenhooker's a real movie. Have you
Are
ever
you
seen?
serious?
You've never seen Frankenhooker?
I have not.
Oh my god, watch Frankenhooker. It's ridiculous. It's like a B movie in a lot of ways, but it is a B movie. It's just ridiculous. Basically, a guy, his fiance ends up getting killed by a lawnmower, and he has to put her back together. He has her brain and everything, but he needs her body, so he goes and kills a bunch of hookers, and that's how he's able to put her back together. And she loves cocaine like hookers as well. So when she gets back together, though, now she just wants to go back to work as a hooker. So he has to like basically try and reel her back in, and that's the movie.
Wow. Sounds quality. Can't believe I've never heard of it before.
It's insane.
Frankenhooker. All right, adding it to the list of must watch.
Oh, it's a must watch. Just it's one you got to see to believe.
My God. All right. Well, that was a great question, though.
Want a
Odd
date?
way.
Yeah, see, he's seen it. That she just goes around saying that. How much money you got? Want a date?
My God. Yeah, I'll add it. I'll add it to the list for next time.
And this, yeah, I mean, you've seen Teeth, so you've seen already enough, right?
Oh, God, dude. Yeah, teeth. My goodness. There was a period of time there where nothing but just weird, like, because didn't Human Centipede come out somewhere in that time
Same
frame?
area. Yeah, I saw that movie with you.
It's unfortunate. I'm sorry that I made you sit through that.
It's all right. I got you back.
Oh,
You've seen a
God.
Serbian film now. Frankenhooker is great. William Driver said, "Yeah, it's just, it could be a lot stupider than it is. Like it's stupid, but it's like it's still got like it's still watchable and lighthearted enough that it's funny."
Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot. I will say though that if there's anybody with a Frankenstein movie, Guillermo del Toro might. He's pretty good with like the creature feature kind of stuff, so that could be pretty good.
He essentially just makes those movies just on his own without those titles. Like Shape of Water is just the creature from the Black Lagoon's love story, and then but yet his movies are so like romanticized and beautiful to look at. You don't even think about the fact that it's about a mute woman having sex with a sea monster.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's not get into the details about this, all right? They fell in love. That's that.
Yeah, there's a term for that.
Well, yeah,
But
I think so. Here's the question though. Does he make Frankenstein green?
I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I think I feel like he'd probably end up being like a regular skin color because that's probably what they would go for nowadays. Like remember, like he was green, but the movie was shot in black and white. I just
Yeah,
feel like they
that
did that just because it picks up. Teeth is also good. Teeth, that's a fear. You got a
yeah,
new fear that you had to worry about.
yeah, that's one that I think every single guy who saw that film immediately went home and Googled to see if that disease was real.
Yep, and just want to be like, oh thank God. Right, but you're still like a little bit like curious, like you're not lying to me, right? I've seen this before.
Oh man, what a movie. I also it just popped in my head. I don't know why, but special shout out to Psycho Gorman. Remember that?
I love Psycho Gorman. That's one of my favorites. Like that, I, I
Such a good film.
I have the Blu-ray somewhere over there. I love that movie.
I don't know why it just popped into my head with this discussion, but I had to shout it out. One of the viewers made us or recommended us watching it, and it was so good.
it, it's so great. I just love that like half the movie, like the Psycho Gorman himself is PG is dressed up like freaking Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, no, that one's great. It's whole again like lighthearted, over the top gore. Like the Power Ranger effects, I always think of when I see that movie. It's like crazy that that's what the look they were going for. Just clearly, you could tell they were '90s kids who just love Power Rangers.
Yeah. Well, listen, I did too, so maybe that's why I liked it.
So, what was another question you had on the list that you answered? So I can make
The
sure.
2000s thriller. What was your favorite 2000s thriller?
Yep, that's it. Which Dennis pointed out to me this week that I was stupid because this word is acres, and I've been saying acres or acres because I
Yeah.
apparently can't read.
Well, I hope that it actually is acres. It's spelt that way, and that's how I read it. And when I heard you say actress of movies, I was like, oh God, John, we need to talk on the side. We're gonna have to take some reading lessons together because I'm questioning myself now, though. But it is acres to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, I will take the reading lessons.
Don't have to fear if you don't force yourself on her. LOL. That's true. The teeth won't come out if she says or make her mad. Exactly. If you're a gentle man, you have nothing to worry about with a woman with teeth.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
For this 2000s thriller, actually, I went with one that I don't know if it's super popular or not, but when I first saw it, I've seen it a lot of times since. I went with Mystic River.
Oh, Mystic River is a great choice. That one is a great thriller, and it's so sad.
Yeah, and it's just, I remember the first time I watched it, you kind of you think you know what happened, and then you find out what it just, I don't know, everything about it, the way it's shot, the whole story. Sean Penn is great in it. It just, I don't know, man. It's such a good film, and I actually forgot about it until this question, and I was looking up thrillers, 2000s thrillers for this, and I almost went. I don't remember what year it came out though. If it would fall in this Shutter Island,
I think
almost went.
that's I think that's 2010. I think that because that is a great thriller as well. Like, does that count as the two? I guess it's not technically the
Yeah, I guess
2000s anymore.
the start of the tens. So I didn't, but when I saw this one, I remembered it. I love Mystic River. It's anyone who hasn't seen it, highly recommend it. If you have seen it, curious what you think. I think it was a really, really great film. There's obviously other ones that I think are more popular choices, but I went with one that personally I really, really enjoyed.
Is that my daughter? Is that my daughter in there? Oh,
Yeah,
oh
dude,
yeah.
your impressions are spot on this morning.
I mean that's how you'd read. It's terrible. I mean, and it's even more tragic at the end when he thinks he's got his guy. Oh my
Did
God,
that
that's heartbreaking. Clint Eastwood directed that movie too, which is crazy.
that was the part that got, they think they know, and spoiler alert, anyone who hasn't seen it, we're about to ruin the whole thing. Um, he thinks it's the guy that he's friends with because that night he has the cuts on his hand and like he's really suspicious, and you find out everything that happened to him as a kid, and they whack him.
Yeah,
And then
it's fucked up because Sean Penn's got that power now, and it's a lot like the movie Sleepers in the sense like you see these guys who end up becoming like criminals in their adult life, but you know how fucked up their childhood was and what led them there, and you sympathize almost.
yeah, you do. And especially with how everything happened, and how he finds his daughter they find her in the bear cage all messed up, and it really, the whole thing is just and then the ending, dude, the kid who did it is not somebody that you would have expected.
No, it almost feels like it's like a Deus Ex Machina kind of like twist ending. Like they're building it up to the one person just to like swerve you at the end, but that's what makes it heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. Like the swerve wasn't too far-fetched and the acting was great. I just think the whole entire thing, they really do throw a lot of curves at you, and they make you believe it is the one guy because he's super suspicious and everything about him makes you think that it is. And then, like you
But he's
said, they
so
even
fucked up. He's just hard from his childhood and what he went through. That's why he's like that.
yeah, so I don't know, highly recommend if you haven't seen it. Um, Honorable mention Memento. I feel like that's also, even though it just crept in here in the year 2000, I think that's one that everybody knows, everybody loves, everyone talks highly about. That's the only reason I didn't put it as my all-time favorite, just because I feel like it gets enough love.
Yeah, I mean that's what Christopher Nolan essentially made. Other than the Batman movies, was he made thrillers? He made Memento. I love The Prestige. That's a great thriller as well. And the thing with Nolan is he likes to play with storytelling. Like Memento's told backwards and forwards at the same time.
Mhm.
The Prestige is like he tells you the entire movie's outline at the beginning of the movie. Like he lays it out to you what the movie's going to be. It's a magic trick. The entire film itself is a magic trick, and I love that about that movie.
Yeah, he then went on and obviously made other fantastic films, but he kind of came out of the gate hot with those. I mean, they're really just solid, solid films, and I feel like, again, it's just like we were talking about comedies in the '90s. I feel like thrillers hit a really high point in the 2000s, maybe even into the tens as well. They really, really started to peak there. With, I don't know if you'd consider like Sixth Sense horror or thriller, but then like when we get into the tens, like we were talking about Shutter Island and Inception and all those films, like they really started to get really good.
Yeah, it's hard to like the line between thriller and horror is so fine. Like people have been arguing about the Silence of the Lambs forever. Like, is that a horror film or is it a thriller? I'd say that's more of a thriller because when you build up the tension like that, horror is like, yeah, this horrific imagery, maybe, but that doesn't necessarily make it a horror film. Like one I have on my list, and I just reviewed the 4K, is what's the Robert Zemeckis film, What Lies Beneath, with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Like
Mhm.
that one is a great thriller as well. Like just and it feels like him paying homage to Alfred Hitchcock because that's what he did. Hitchcock made thrillers. He didn't really make horror films. He made thrillers.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, what would you make the divide? To me, you're right. Like Silence of the Lambs, more thriller. I would say the only like horror scene that I can even think of would be, I guess, any murder scene, but the ending with the night vision is a pretty scary scene. But aside from that, I agree with you. I think it is largely a thriller where it's just. But then I guess, do we get into, is suspense? Does that count as a totally separate category?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's such a fine line. Like, where do you draw the line? That's why the arguments happen because it's like it's almost you making the decision on what you think is a horror and what you think is a thriller. Great film. Yeah. No, I mean, Silence of the Lambs is one of the greatest films of all time. It's one of my favorites. I can always run back to it. And yeah, What Lies Beneath is another one that I had. Did you have any more? I had Mulholland Drive too, which is another
Oh,
one I love.
yeah, I had that on here as well. Obviously, fantastic, fantastic film.
And what do you think of that movie? Because David Lynch is one of those guys who doesn't give you the answers, and he like basically leaves it up to you.
Yeah, I still don't really know, to be honest. I feel like while it does leave you with a lot of questions, I do love that about his style and about other filmmakers too. I like when it's ambiguous and kind of leaves it up to you. I think that's what makes a film good. It continue, like I continue to want to rewatch it to find answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like what that movie, to me, what that movie has always been about is the first half is a fantasy, how everything is going right, and she lucks into all these situations. And that's the American dream of going to Hollywood, the Hollywood dream of becoming a success. Where the second half is the reality of her life is an actual nightmare, and everything she hoped would happen didn't happen. And you're actually seeing like what actually happens to a lot of people when they go to Hollywood is they fail. Like it's just, I think it's a two-sided coin, that movie, and it's just obviously told through David Lynch's, nightmarish visions.
Yeah, which I could see that. I definitely agree. And I like that. I think that's a solid explanation. But I think it's one of those, like you said, the way that he writes and the way that things go, I think it does leave just enough ambiguity for debate. Like there's just enough in it where you can kind of be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't agree. I think it might be something slightly different. And I think that's why it's one of the better films. You
Yeah,
know?
I think he was the guy who said that like all my movies make sense. He's like, I give you all the pieces. He's just, I just don't give them to you in the right order. He's like, you have to figure it out. He's like, and I'm not going to tell you what it's about. So it's like it's 100% up to you. It's like the opposite of like what movies do today, where they have to answer every question. He almost intentionally doesn't answer it.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I mean, even into later movies, same thing with, I know a huge debate is Inception. Is he awake or not awake at the end of that film because of the top spinning? I like that films end that way. I like when there's question because then we can have conversations about it where, like you said, when you're spoon-fed things and they literally tell you, here is the exact timeline, here's exactly what happened, this is the end, it's final, no ifs, ands, or buts. I feel like it just takes a little bit out of it where when you leave things a little bit more vague, it makes you engage more. It makes you think more. It makes you go back and when you rewatch, pick up on other subtle things that happen to be like, oh, wait a minute, maybe this meant something. Maybe that meant something different. And I think that's one of his strong suits as a writer director is to be able to, like you said, give you the pieces, but not spoon feed it to you.
Exactly. Like today's world's like, I think I truly believe that Disney ruined this with like Marvel and Star Wars is that everybody had to be connected. Everything had to matter. Like their names have to matter. Everything has to mean something. Like in Star Wars, the dice hanging from the mirror had to mean something. Like, no, that's not always how it works. I mean, I've had the same red, white, and blue little tree hanging from the mirror of my car since I bought it. Not because I'm attached to that little tree. It's because I'm fucking lazy and I've never replaced the damn thing in my car in all this time, even though it hasn't smelt since 2017. That's the sole reason it's there. And I bet you that was the same thing with Han Solo, but no, it had to mean something.
Yeah, it's just I don't like when every single thing means something, but I do like that when you give little hints. When you start, because I think it's the same thing I mentioned before, the law of diminishing returns. When every single tiny little detail in a film is relevant for something, nothing is relevant. But when nothing means anything, then you lose the purpose of the film. So you have to find that balance of kind of putting little clues and little hints and little subtle things that mean something more grand in the end without overkill, because then it's like I don't even want to rewatch this because I literally have to pay attention to the color of the person's shoelaces because that had some sort of gigantic meaning later on. Like it just
Yeah, that
it,
was like
it
basically her great grandmother's uncle gave that to her when she was a kid, and the shoelace has been passed down through time, so you better not get any dirt on them.
yeah, and it's like, well, I didn't that didn't help me get anywhere in this film.
That adds nothing to the story.
Yeah, just brutal. So yeah, it's I could see that. But he went on, I mean, speaking about you said David Lynch, he went on to do quite a few different types of films. Do you have a favorite of his?
For David Lynch, I actually Mulholland Drive was always my favorite. I've been a big Twin Peaks fan forever. He's my favorite. What's it called? He's my favorite. One of my favorite. That's my favorite show of all time. That like up there with the X Files and Breaking Bad and Rescue Me. Like I put Twin Peaks up there, but it's very much his style. Also,
Hmm.
it's more. It makes a little bit more logical sense because Mark Frost did that show with him. So it's got a little bit more lighthearted nature. But as far as his movies go, I also still really like Lost Highway from '97. I think that's also a lot like Mulholland Drive, where it doesn't give you nothing, but some of the imagery in there it just sticks with me.
Yeah, he's too convoluted.
Shamrock Balls and a lot of other people do have this feeling about Christopher Nolan, and I admit, like on rewatch, on a lot of times you could start poking holes in his stories, and because you like might get blinded by the visual, because the guy's a great visual director.
Mhm.
But I also just truly do love Nolan. Like I think he's, there's some movies he had a real low point there. I didn't like Dunkirk, and I really like Tenet. For me, is like it looks great, but there's like a lot of flaws for me in that movie. But Oppenheimer's a masterpiece to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say he also has Oppenheimer, Interstellar. I know,
Some people don't
another.
really. I remember people came around on Interstellar recently. When Interstellar came out, I felt like I was on an island of one. I remember critics not like. I remember one of my favorite critics was Chris Stuckman, and he put it like a number 14 that year. I just remember thinking that was the 14th best film of I think it was 2014. I was like, that was the best movie that year. But I feel like people had to that one. I think gets better on rewatch for people. I always said I thought that was like our generation's 2001.
Yeah, I think that was a really, really good film, and I feel like that and Inception were two that I really, and Oppenheimer, obviously. I mean, it, won everything. It was just an incredible film altogether. So I could understand why people think convoluted, though. Inception is the one that comes to mind when I think people think he's convoluted, because that one was very, like what's dream, what's reality, like very, very far-fetched and out there thing. Absolutely not.
Absolutely no. As good, Rob Zombie would ruin Jaws. Like as Rob Zombie is good, which is funny because there's another question that's kind of a pop-up question because I didn't send it to you because it just kind of came in, but it's a really it's from Haunted Pillowcase. But I think this one for you would be crazy because I don't know where you'd fall on this.
Yeah, that's tough. I I on like biasly lean towards Jaws just because it is, I don't know, it's intense. It's so, but Scream is too, dude, like with her on the phone and man, that is a really good question. I will give the edge to Jaws solely because I love that film so much, but I will say that it is the edge by, I mean, like a hair, just so slightly. Both opening scenes are so well shot, so well executed, and set the film up so perfectly. That is real. That's a great question. Yeah, not tough. I figured you would say not tough, and I disappoint you by saying this.
Yeah, I thought it's a little tougher, but like I agree. Like it probably the most iconic is Jaws, but the thing with Scream is you got to also remember that they were playing with your expectations at the time with the movie posters, where Drew Barrymore was at the center of the rest of the cast, at front and center, like she's going to be the main character. Basically playing with Psycho expectations too. So they knew what they were doing, and then you kill her off in the opening scene. Like you don't think she's going to die there, and then her parents hearing her get her body dragged across as she's dying, like that. That is an iconic, but that is tough. Like what is more? I still got to go with Jaws just because it's Jaws, even though Scream is also like I think it's hit that iconic level as well at this point. Not Jaws levels, but like in that B tier of like all-time films that everybody knows. Like that was a question I don't think we necessarily answered earlier. We kind of was like, what is a movie everybody knows?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the thing too with Scream, and I'm sorry to disappoint you with my opinion. Again, I picked Jaws. I picked Jaws. I do think that it also set the stage for the rest of the film because you have the, what's your favorite scary movie? That whole phone conversation, like so much happens in that opening scene. Same for Jaws. I mean, it sets the tone for, monster beneath. You don't see what's happening to this poor girl, and when you learn about what happened to her to shoot that scene, it's even more intense. Shout out to your video with David about Jaws. Watched it the other day. Really well, great discussion. Excited to watch the rest of it. But I think they're both iconic. The thing is that like Jaws has reached that upper echelon at this point of being in like just the legendary status of film. Jaws is up there and it will forever be one of the greatest ever. Scream might get there someday. It's on its way. It's just not quite at that level to me. Jaws is obviously in like the S tier godlike films. Scream to me is like A or B right below it. I love Scream. Still think it's one of the best horror films and franchises, but I will give the edge to Jaws for that. I hear her screaming and gargling the water, and the whole thing I hear is just that it's a really, really legendary opening.
Yeah, it is. It looks beautiful right in from the opening credits, which are great. The shark swimming along. You get the logo. Because Scream, you don't get the logo until, well, actually, I guess that became iconic of the series. Is that when you get the Scream logo, which they didn't get right, the perfect angle of the knife cutting across the Scream until I think like 5, but still, like that is iconic. How the knife cuts the Scream logo open. Like Jaws, you get it before, because I think actually me and David talked about that. You had to have that at the opening of the movie of the time. It was like a Directors Guild thing. George Lucas actually got in a lot of trouble for that, for not putting opening credits in his movie, because he wanted the scroll.
Interesting. No, I
Yeah,
didn't know that. I mean, I do. I love that in Jaws, the how they open underwater every time, and like those shots under the water as the music's kind of playing, like even that before the whole giant attack. It's just I didn't know that it was a forced thing. I just assumed it was a normal thing to run the credits. I didn't realize it was part of a Directors Guild deal.
yeah, like all that stuff. It's all union rules. Like you got to have the producers. Like that's why they get the, like. If you ever notice, the credits are like outlined always the same way. The director gets the final credit, like at the very end of it. Like that's all mandated by studio, by the rules of the time. Or like now they kind of get a little bit lenient. If you ask them, like, can I do this? They're like, okay, usually cool. Like it fits into the story this way. But like, back then it was like, no, you better fucking have that. That's why it used to always be like a list. If you go back to like the 50s and 60s, like it was like a list before you even got into the movie, and then they would start the movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. And good point too. I saw that comment about how Scream is basically just playing on everything before it. So I will say that I
But
think that's where,
that's kind of the point of Scream, is it not? Like,
yeah, I think that's where they differ, right? So
Mhm.
Scream is an opening that really pays homage to everything that came before it, where Jaws' opening, I think, set the tone for everything in the future. Because now any shark movie that you watch has a scene where a girl is getting dragged around like that above the water, like half up, half in. So I think that's the difference. Scream was the film paying tribute to past films, where Jaws is the past film that all future films now pay homage to. So
Oh yeah.
that's a huge difference too.
Oh yeah, Jaws is the like one of the films that changed the film industry. Without Jaws, you don't have how many other films. So like you have to have the original. The credit has to go to the original because they're the one that started it all. Whereas Scream's paying homage to those ones, or you could even say directly lifting it. But that's also like the opening that Jason Goes to Hell. It's playing with your expectations of what a Friday the 13th movie is going to be.
Yeah, well, we all know how much you love that film, yeah, for some reason. But no, I agree. I do think though
His
that
body's
Scream
just a
is,
vessel. All right.
yeah, just like for a worm. And that's why Jaws wins it. Yeah, Jaws does win it slightly. I will give Jaws the edge. I hope that doesn't discredit me as a Jaws fan, that I didn't, say it was a runaway victory, but I did. I do think that opening scene. I mean, it's got to be up there. That's a question for you. What do you think there's, or what do you think are some of the most like top iconic opening scenes in film?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of what like other iconic opening scenes in film are. Like, I mean, The Godfather has like the huge opening scene at the wedding, so that's iconic. Um, Heat has a great opening scene too, like seeing the first robbery. I love that. Nightmare on Elm Street, I think that has one too, because you're right in a dream and you don't even realize it right in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, oh my God, Dark Knight. Well, that is
That
paying homage to Heat.
Yeah, that bank robbery. That's when you said Heat. I said, yeah, no, that's Dark Knight went right to that scene where they're robbing the bank, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, 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 I kill the bus driver, and he's like, "What?" And fucking blast him.
Yeah, another awesome scene. I think that's the thing. Like, you need the movie to open up in a crazy way to pull you in, and I think that sometimes film misses that.
Yeah, the Terminator's opening scene is iconic too. I completely agree with that. Well, I just, when it comes to Terminator, I want to make sure I'm not being biased all the time. you
It's
know,
okay. You can be biased. I'm biased to Jaws every time it comes up, so that's fine. Well, kind of.
I,
I guess
I
I
try
wasn't
to be
overly.
self-aware of like my biasness towards the Terminator, because like I'm like I'll put it number one for everything, but I'm like does everybody else feel this way? Be
That's a
ever
good
be
question.
remade? Should we emphasis on suspense and horror? Like I don't know if you touch Jaws, but I've always felt like like the Terminator, it's coming eventually. Like we've gotten so many shitty sequels. What's the next logical step? But Jaws, they stopped at the revenge and never even tried again.
So here's my issue. The biased version of me is saying no, don't touch it. It's perfect. It's literally a perfect film start to finish. There is zero reason to remake it. But I guess, like, film fan in me knows that Hollywood cannot control themselves and everything gets remade. I mean, at this point, I'm surprised Citizen Kane hasn't been remade. Like, it's just they remake everything. And I think at a certain point, they've redone. How many horror films have they redone already? They've redone Hellraiser, Friday, Nightmare, Texas, like
Um,
Child's Play.
we have a series called Original versus Remake for that very reason.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the
Blade does
Joe.
have a great opening. That's a great fucking call too. I do love the
Yeah,
scene. That was such a surprise to me too, with the blood coming out of the ceiling. That was like a shocking moment that I always forget.
yeah, Blade was pretty awesome. But yeah, I don't. The fan in me does not want to see a remake, but knows that it will inevitably come. I'd put it probably more. I would prefer them put it in some sort of like suspense area instead of horror, because I'm afraid if they market it as a horror movie, they're gonna do exactly what the original Jaws didn't do, and they're just gonna have a CGI shark diving up and down out of the water the entire film.
Yeah, you already got the movie where like Jaws himself is actually seeking revenge on a family. So I don't know if we want to. You have to like simplify it, but you already have that movie, and like we're getting a 50th anniversary edition of the 4K. Like you don't really need to remake Jaws, but eventually Steven Spielberg will die, generations will come along, and they'll be like, well, we have this property, like why aren't we using this? Like some executive, and nothing's sacred. Like once they started talking about recently, like they're going to start making AI movies, I was like, it's over. We're going to get everything, and that's it. It's over for us when it comes to that. Raiders of the Lost Ark's opening scene is iconic. Every Indiana Jones movie has a very iconic opening scene, but our introduction to Indy is always great.
Yeah.
Spielberg is stopping a remake or sequel. Like that might be the case. I think that Hollywood respects Steven Spielberg enough that they won't actually cross him to remake the movie, but he will die eventually, and
Yeah, unless he writes
that'll happen.
something in his will where he gives, like, somehow gets the rights to it and gives it to his children and says it can never be remade. He is the only hope we have of it not being remade.
Yeah, I think that that's the exact same reason why George Lucas, like, I think like he put it in this deal with Star Wars that the original cuts of the movies like don't get seen by people. Like, I think that's the only reason why we haven't gotten those released by Disney, because Disney doesn't hold anything sacred. They love to print money. I don't think that that's. I think the only reason that those have been non-existent for all these years is because George Lucas doesn't want us to see them again.
Yeah, 100% agree. Also mention opening scene, Saving Private Ryan.
Oh yes, yeah. Steven Spielberg knows how to do an opening scene, does he not?
Yeah, that he does, but that one,
A limited show based on the novel, like that's actually not a bad idea, where you could stretch it out a little bit more and like really like develop characters, kind of like how they've done with they did that with The Shining. They made a mini series of it, like flesh everything out a little bit more. His
yeah,
estate will get it. Yeah, you just got to hope that his kids aren't going to like sell it off one day when they need some money.
yeah, and if they do, let us know, because I will literally sell my soul to own it and make sure it never gets remade.
I know. Thank God James Cameron has the rights to the Terminator back, but I don't think he cares. He'll if they give him enough money or like send him on a trip underwater somewhere, he'll sell the rights to them.
Absolutely, sure. You got me a submarine?
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
all
I
yours.
get this one won't blow up either. That's perfect. Here's a question, like we can just kind of discuss before you get out of here, because I
Yeah.
think it's pretty cool. Well, let's because there's not. I know you said you don't know really too much, like what's out or what's not, but there hasn't been too many shows released on 4K. So this is just a cool question. Like, what are your favorite shows? What are the top TV shows you want to come to Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray?
That is, yeah, I mean,
I'm just curious, like, what are your favorite shows that and I'll tell you if they haven't come. Like, not a lot have.
yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, I'm trying to think of shows just that I've watched. I mean, I'm
Like,
a big Sons of Anarchy fan.
I had that on the list I made. Is that Sons of Anarchy? All those FX shows from back in the day need 4K Blu-ray releases.
Yeah,
Sons is
Rescue Me was
great.
another awesome one.
Yeah, FX just couldn't miss at the time. Did you like Justified too? Like at that time?
I did, yeah. I enjoyed I know that they just came out with I guess it's a sequel to it or whatever. I haven't watched that one, but the original Justified I really liked.
Yeah, Walter Goggins back. That's when we first kind of got introduced to him, and now he's fucking everywhere.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
sure wish they would have
100%.
released the new Shogun on 4K. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot shows today. Forget it. Like I had Stranger Things because they did seasons 1 and 2, and then they stopped because it's Netflix. So basically, any Netflix show won't get a physical release at all, whether it be on Blu-ray or 4K.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem is that most like series now, it's not even I don't even want to call them TV shows. I feel like series all go to streaming services and they're never going. This is the problem I have with Fear Street. I love the Fear Street movies, and I keep asking you, have you heard anything? Are we ever going to get it? A physical release of the Fear Street movies, and we won't. And it's the same thing with series. If
Hmm.
they are a Netflix original, a Hulu original, any of those, are those networks ever going to do physical releases?
Yeah, luckily, actually, HBO still does the physical releases and will usually put them on 4K. Like I loved the Watchmen miniseries that came out a few years ago, and I bought that on 4K. The other one, I'm drawing a blank on the name. I have it over there too. It's funny, I can't even remember the name. But there was that freaking thing, with the big blast. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I
The
sound so
thing with the
stupid.
big blast, he
The
said.
thing with the big blast. This is like how I described somebody yesterday at work. I sounded like what's his name from freaking Chief Wiggum from Simpsons, where he's like, "Suspect is hatless. Suspect is hatless. He is driving a car and passing that place that sells chili. Chernobyl."
Okay, Chernobyl. I was gonna say it sounds like Chernobyl.
Yeah, it was. That was a great. It reminds me of a young Jack Nicholson. Walter Goggins. I could see that. The guy's got freaking range, man. Because for me, the first time I saw him was in Sons of Anarchy, where he played the trans. He played the transsexual, and I mean now he's like freaking. He plays Brother Billy over there. He does everything.
Yeah, he's been in a lot. I've seen him in so many films and movies, series, everything. I always like when he pops up. I feel like he's underrated. He's really I don't hear his name a lot in acting, but I really like everything he's in. He's good.
Yeah, he's getting a moment like right now because of White Lotus, because that's like the most like I honestly only watched like the first few episodes of the first season. I never got really too into it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of shows like I just because I watch so much movies, I can't really get into more like modern TV shows. And the show Succession reminded me so much of my old job. I couldn't watch it. Like it actually gave me PTSD because it actually reminded me of the owners of the company I worked for. And I was like, I can't watch this because I see this in person.
It's funny actually, a lot of newer shows that I
Oh,
see.
The Shield. I forgot about The Shield. That was Kurtwood Sutter's show before Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. But did you ever see his show after Sons of Anarchy too? The
The Mayans?
no, 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 the Bastard Executioner.
No, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, you don't have to. It literally made it like 6 episodes and got canceled.
Oh, so avoid it then.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't great.
Resident
Um,
Alien and Warriors. Yeah, anything like that, just forget it. We'll never like get it. Like even like old shows that I liked from like the 2000s, like Scrubs and stuff. I would love a 4K release of that. I just don't know if it'll ever come.
I just don't think so because I think the streaming services are buying them all up, and people just watch them on there. I mean, you think about some of the bigger, even think about like sitcoms, Friends and The Office and all those. Peacock owns it, Max owns it. Like all these companies just have the rights to these older TV series. So why would they do a physical release? They have it on their streaming service. They're forcing you to have their service to watch it.
Luckily, we actually got Friends in the Office. No, we didn't get
Well,
the
yeah,
Office yet. We got Friends. Did we get the Office? We might have got the Office. We did get Friends. And just like a lot of the physical releases for shows also have been caused by a little bit of controversy because it looks like they do a lot of AI to finish those off too. Mainly
okay.
because those shows back in the day were never designed for releases like this. Also, they were shot like some stuff was shot on videotape. So imagine getting that to 4K. It's just not
Yeah.
gonna look good. You gotta really be paying. That's where the AI comes in because I'm usually building up a 4K collection. Yes, Mellow Fellow is building up a brand new 4K collection, which is awesome. He's new to the he's had 4K Blu-rays, but he's building up a new collection as well. And not everything needs to go to 4K. I think me and you talked about that before.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you are as a film fan. Like I know you have like a nice sound system and you have a fancy TV and all that. Like, I don't have all that. I, have a very run-of-the-mill television that and Blu-ray player. So in terms of the benefits, most of the time, honestly, the reason I pick Blu-ray or 4K depends literally on the artwork. Does it have a nice steelbook, a nice slipcover, nice design? If the 4K is that much, like I have the Friday the 13th collection, but those new ones came out. I love what the box art looks like. So I'm probably going to spend 30 bucks on even though I don't like Jason Goes to Hell, probably going to get it because I love the artwork on it.
One day you're gonna come around to the mastery that is Jason Goes to Hell.
I wouldn't wait for that, but maybe, just maybe I will. But yeah, I think funny enough, I'm still actually, as we talk about, like as I do more with you, I'm working on building a collection myself because I actually lost a lot of it. A lot of videos, and well, a lot of Blu-rays because 4K wasn't huge when I was collecting. In a breakup,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah, she took everything out of my bedroom and when she left, and now I got to restart. So, any recommendations? I am here.
Well, yeah, breakups can do that sometimes.
Yeah. So I am in the process of recollecting. So, but again, I definitely am one of those people who, if you're not like, unless you're getting into it, if you're super getting into film and you want to really dive in, like I know when you talk about your 4K reviews, you talk about the Atmos track and the different lighting and how what the transfer was like, and your TV and all that stuff can do it. If you're getting into that, highly recommend it. But to me, like I don't really notice that stuff. I don't have like a really complicated setup or anything like that. So I really go based on your recommendation. If you think it's worth it, I will. But if I know you've said before, there are a handful of 4Ks you've gotten that just are not worth it.
Yeah, it's just that's the only thing. It's like I try not to like tell people because I don't want. I think this is like a very expensive hobby, so I try and like make it clear like the prices are very important. I'm not a salesman for physical media. Like you got to like pay within your means. Everything costs so much money. You don't need to have the best TV and the best sound system. I'm into that, but I'll cut corners in other parts of life. Like I just told you, I have the same little tree air freshener. I got to save money any which way I can. So like to get the 4Ks, So
Yeah.
everybody, like I might spend a little bit money like that, but I draw lines in the sand. Like the Kingdom of Heaven 4K being $55 for one film that I like. I'm not going to spend that kind of money if it drops to a lower price. Yeah, I want to see it. But to me, the film comes first, and then the quality. Like as long as the movie itself has to be good, I don't care how good the 4K is. If I'm never going to watch the movie again, I'm not buying the 4K.
Yeah, and then that's
my ex told me I can live on my own with my junk. No chance of taking anything. See, Dennis found somebody who liked the same thing, and that was the problem.
Yeah, that was the issue. She loved all the same things. So every single horror movie Blu-ray I had, every single, I think I walked away. The only thing she didn't take actually, which should have known, should have taken this as a red flag. She didn't take Jaws. Should have cut her loose a long time ago.
She left Jaws. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Talk about it, spit in the face. That's the one thing she should have taken.
Yeah, I'm like exactly. I'm with William Driver. I like 4K. Most of my reviews are for the 4K Blu-ray in comparison to the Blu-ray, but it's not an everybody thing. And it proves that like when you look at the physical media sales, DVD still takes up 50% of that pie. 50%. Then there's Blu-ray, and then there's 4K Blu-ray. Like it's very niche. That's why like I'll buy them, and I like to do the reviews that way. It's like let you know if it's worth your money because it's fucking expensive.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's why.
Yeah, Mellow Fellow does do that. Actually, he has a YouTube channel. He makes custom stuff, and I know he's not the only one. I know that you can buy custom Blu-ray, like a VHS slips. Like if you want it to look like an old VHS slip cover from like when you were a kid. Yeah. You can buy it from them directly and they'll make it for you. It's incredible.
That is pretty cool, actually. See, that's something I would rather do. Like to me, if I could find like an old DVD for $5 and then pay someone like
that could be a problem too.
That is true. But yeah, the custom slip, like that's the thing. I spend more money on the 4Ks if the artwork is cooler. So I would rather go get a $5 bargain DVD and pay an actual, like an artist to make custom work, whether it's $50, whatever it is. I'd rather spend the money on the custom artwork
You'd
than
actually be
the.
surprised how much those VHS slips are. They're like nothing. They'll charge you like $3.99.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I'll
I
send you
shouldn't have
the.
said $50.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, like you just message them and they send. I know people who got them. The guy Tim actually, who I talked to, he buys them from that guy. And Mellow Fellow does great work himself too for Criterion mainly. Like but he does custom artwork as well. Like there's a lot of guys who like they'll buy the paper stock and print it and they'll make it look like a real slipcover. Obviously, they're not licensed or anything, but they'll give you exactly what you want in comparison to being at the mercy of like Warner Brothers, who seems to fuck it up all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bigger on that, I'm bigger on the artwork than and again, I'm not knocking 4Ks. If I did have,
She
yeah,
left
better
Jaws
off
better.
without it.
Are
That's right.
just so
And yeah,
cheap. Also, they are DVDs are like that's something I think that we've technology has passed by because that was like low end HD. Like so, like as we've gotten better with technology, those just look so pixelated now.
yeah, and I'm sure that's why 50% of the marketplace is DVD because it's a money thing. People who aren't hardcore into the picture and pixels and all that kind of stuff, they'll look like you said, they're going to look at a $50 blue 4K and be like, the DVD is literally $12.99. Like, I'm just going to get the DVD. So that's
Yeah,
probably why it's still 50% of the market because they're just so cheap in comparison.
exactly. And most people don't have Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray players, especially like older people. They're just gonna grab the DVD. And yes, Mellow Fellow does a lot more than Criterion. You should check out his YouTube channel. He'll give you a full walkthrough of like what the previous artwork looks like and what he updated. I highly recommend his channel. And what else? This is a good thing that Mark's movie menu just said. Do you feel that since TVs are getting larger, that is more of a reason for 4K? Yeah, like that's honestly a good thing. Like if you're buying a really big TV, like a 75 or 77 inch, I always say try and get a higher quality TV just because at some point when the size is like that, it's going to look way worse when like the quality of what you're watching is on it.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with. I have noticed as the TVs that I buy get bigger, when it's pixelated, it's way more obvious. Um, so I definitely recommend in that regard. And listen, I recommend it like if you can swing it. The only reason I'm saying that I don't overly do it is because it is expensive. Like I want to collect a lot of 4Ks, but when I'm looking at buying 4Ks and it's going to cost me $180 for 4 movies, it's like I don't really know that I want to drop that kind of money on 4 essential, not DVDs, but 4 movies. It's so much. So I know you talk about it a lot. I definitely, if you're into collecting, I know it's hard to wait because you don't want things to sell out and you want it immediately. But if you can wait for those sales that, like Arrow does and Screen Factory and all that, they do those annual sales. That's when I buy a lot of stuff because even Best Buy does the random sales that you bring up. Whenever they have 4K sales going on, that's when I try to do my collecting because otherwise it can get really expensive. You could spend as much on 4Ks as you do like a sound bar. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
insane.
Wes Anderson's 4K collection of his first 10 films. There's only 10 movies. It came out, it started at $400. It dropped to 350 cents, but like $400 for 10 movies, like that's and I love all those movies, but that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you break it down, that's $40 a film. Which I know nowadays, with inflation and everything, that's not. I guess it's not that much, but $40. So and is it a film that you're going to rewatch 4 or 5 times a year, or is that a film you're going to watch once and forget that it's on the shelf for the next 5 years?
Exactly, and that's why the way I go about collecting is in that exact way of thinking is, am I only buying this to watch it once, or am I going to rewatch it? If I'm not going to rewatch this 4K, what's the point of me getting it? This so like that's always how I do. And then if I don't think I'm ever going to watch it, usually that's when I'll give it away. And William's
Yeah.
right though. Once you see the quality, sometimes it is really hard to go back. It's the same way I always looked at like the Johnny Walkers when it comes to like Scotch. Johnny Walker Black is like $50, and then you see over here is Johnny Walker Blue is like $200 a bottle, and you're like, I'm never gonna try that because I know if I like it, how am I gonna go back to Johnny Walker Black? Like it's just like sometimes like ignorance is bliss. Like you don't want to know like there's a better quality of something out there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I've seen the difference myself, and that's what makes it difficult for me. Because I've had some, I've got some recommended 4Ks from you, and even on my TV, that's not super high quality. It's night and day difference. So it is, but that's what makes it hard. Is I want that quality, but at the same time, like you said, it's like now I know how good it is, and can I swing it? Should I swing it? It's
Yeah,
It's just a shame that the collectors are the ones who pay for it.
well, that's exactly what it is, and like Michael just said, like I'm in Australia, so I have to import, but we don't get Scream Factory and VS titles, so it'll cost me about $65 a movie. That's the thing about importing for other countries, and that's where I feel like a little bit of a dick complaining about prices because there are people in other countries that get hit way worse than we do here, but the prices are going up so much. You gotta like, it's hard to justify sometimes, and I always just tell people like, spend like within what you can spend. Like, don't feel like you have to reach up to what other people are doing. You know, like you gotta like you can't put yourself or your family in danger for a movie. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing to take away is just like you said, spend within your means. If you um what oh, you can forget about getting a slip, yeah.
That is true too, and that's how they get you. Also, is like the steel books, like the limited runs. Like that's it. Like if you don't buy it now, you're not getting it.
Well, that's what we have Mellow Fellow for and all these other artists
Yeah, that can help you
with
out.
custom artwork. Because but I agree. It's spend within your means. You don't want to go over the top. And like you said, to me, it's like comparison is the thief of joy. If you're the one like me, I know for a fact my collection that I've started out is nowhere near yours. You are light years beyond me. You have incredible films, unbelievable steelbooks, 4Ks out the ass, and mine, some Blu-rays, some 4Ks, a couple DVDs here and there. Like it's really a scrappy little collection, but I still have the film. And that's how you have to remember it. You still have it. You could still watch it. Is it the highest quality? You know, it doesn't it doesn't have to be. It's because at the end of the day, it's about enjoying the movie. You have to like the movie itself. So if you're going to spend, are you going to spend $60 on a film just so you can say you have it, or do you want to spend $20 on a film and watch it literally 4 times a year?
Exactly. It's got to come down to like your collection has got to be personal to you. Like, what do you feel? Like some people, that's how they do collect. They just like to have it, and like that's fine. I'm not going to knock their way of collecting, but it's just different from like how I collect. And I think everyone's different, and you got to just personalize it to yourself. Like he said, OCD is real. Like FOMO is a real thing. People feel like they're missing out on something. And, I try not to put that pressure on people because, like, because then they end up making a mistake, and you don't need to make that. Wait for a sale if you can, but yeah, you will miss out on slip covers and certain steel books. You got to make those choices, but it comes down to you.
Yeah, that's all. It's personal preference, and that's what we talk about on this channel all the time. Is all personal preference.
Hmm.
People personal preference in film collection. Is it Blu-ray versus 4K? What it's all. Yeah, and that's a good point. Start by collecting your favorite. That's exactly what I did. First thing I bought after my old collection was stolen from me was the Friday the 13th box set. That big that you have also, the really cool looking box set that they had. That was the very first thing because that was that and because I still had Jaws. Still had that. But that was first thing I rebought. And then I started to collect the Halloweens and so that's where I'm kind of getting to the point where all my favorite horror movies are off that list. So now I'm going to start getting into more so the stuff that maybe I've only seen once or twice. I'm, not a huge fan of, but I want to rewatch it because I have the things that I love already, I own.
Yep, exactly. And William Driver says it right here: collect at your own pace and preference. Because yeah, like what you just did, and I think that's how it all starts. I remember like the first movies I got, like I made sure I had a Terminator Blu-ray collection because that's my favorite movie, and so is two. So I have to have that in there.
Yeah, that's all. It's very easy.
You've got to get out of here, right?
Yeah, I do have to jump for work, so I do apologize, everyone. Thank you for the questions, though. Really good conversation. Enjoy it. Hopefully, we have some good questions for next week. I know we have a couple other things that we're going to be working on.
Yeah, I guess we could tell you guys who won that poll now before Dennis gets out of here, so you guys know for next week what the next original versus remake is in a landslide. Dawn of the Dead one. So our next original versus remake will be Dawn of the Dead, 1978 and 2004.
Yeah, excited, surprised a little bit, but excited. And listen, we have a ton of films that we have a list of, and also while we are kind of starting in the horror realm, we've talked about it. We're eventually open to really anything. I mean, it doesn't have to just be horror. Remakes are fine, of any kind. But I think maybe moving forward, we'll keep rocking the polls until we start making our own selections and recommendations too. We're always open to. If you guys want to see something added to a poll, or we also have that one question, the A24 question. We got to work on a video. Our top
Yeah, we got to do
A24
that.
films.
We got a video to do on that. Yeah, Dennis will be around doing a lot more videos with me. David's, obviously with me on the Let's Talk Movies podcast. We got a lot going on there. I'll be on for a little bit more, guys. Like doing the like, you don't have to run out of here. I'll be doing the giveaway. Answer one like solo question too. Just like, and then we'll ease out of here. But Dennis, make sure you guys are here every Tuesday at 7:30. This is going to become our permanent time slot. And we'll be doing a Q&A like this. Like, it's just never enough time.
Never enough. But thank you guys again. It was good to talk to you all, and I will see you all next week.
See you guys. Well, I'll see you, Dennis. But I'm going to be kicking around for a little bit longer. And I just want to say, Mellow Fella, when you watched the Three Colors trilogy, did you watch the Blu-rays or the 4Ks? Because I've always felt like the 4Ks were a huge letdown of the Three Colors trilogy. Some of the biggest disappointments because they changed the color timing. They made it look very yellow. That really bothered me. And so I don't know how you felt about that, but that's something that really bothered me. I'm going to share the giveaway wheel so you guys can check it out. The Blu-rays are so much better. I highly recommend never getting the 4Ks of those. I have the 4Ks, but they came with the Blu-rays, thank God, where the right color timing in the movies. Imagine watching Three Colors Blue without the blue in it. Like that doesn't make sense. Not if you've ever seen it. So I'm going to add this to the stage, and we are going to check out this week's, digital code giveaway wheel. So every single week I do this. We're going to shuffle that bad boy up. And let's see. We'll hit shuffle a bunch of times. And if you are a channel member, your name, unless you don't want to be, is on this magic wheel. We'll spin that real quick. We're going to spin this twice. And I can tell you guys about some future giveaways we're going to be doing. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. So we're right there. I think we're like 25 away. So, tell your friends about Let's Talk Entertainment Media. There's a bunch of different stuff on the channel. Like Dennis said, there's the original versus remake that me and him do. The live show on Tuesdays, the me and David show that we try and do, every other Friday. And then right now we're in the middle of our Jaws, where we're doing part 1 and part 2. John Doe Juggalo, Jeff, our channel producer. Congratulations, buddy. You're the winner of round 1. Gonna remove you. Spin again. And I do have the codes to show you. I gotta just pull those up on the screen as well. But yeah, we got the 5,000. So make sure you guys are paying attention to the Let's Talk Movies podcast. Obviously, those are longer shows, but we got that going on. A lot of 4K reviews coming out. The Sean Connery collection should be here today for me, the Steel Books, and I'm going to review each of those movies individually. Same thing with the Jurassic Parks, Lethal Weapon. So I'm going to have all those 4K Blu-rays mixed in as well. Looks like Holes is going to win. Congratulations to Holes. I don't know if you're named after the movie from back in the day that I love, but hey, congratulations. So you guys won the digital code giveaway. Let me try and add the codes themselves to the screen. So hopefully I didn't delete those. If not, I'll have to re-download them. But, and also I had a question about like what 80s movies I want to come to 4K Blu-ray. I did a video about that, but it was a while ago. And we can, the big ones for me are always Jaws, thinking about Jaws, but was always Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon's now coming to 4K Blu-ray. The Friday the 13th are coming to 4K Blu-ray. So some of the big ones have already come to 4K Blu-ray, so we don't have to really worry too much about like some of the big ones. But luckily, there's movies like big that still haven't come to 4K. Let's see. I'm trying to find where the digital codes are. Maybe I deleted them. I have to re-download them because I don't have them here. So we'll get rid of that. But yeah, John Doe Juggalo and Holes are this week's 2 digital code giveaway winners. I'll keep looking, by the way. Freudian slip. Yes. We'll go to place it. We'll find those digital codes, those damn digital codes. But I also have new digital codes coming. Kevin Kruger, you want a digital code? Let's find out who won the question of the week from last week as well. Uncle Charlie was asking about that. We have to make sure we find out. I believe I know, but I don't want to say without being too sure. But it looks like it was question number 1, which is Kevin Kruger, Rank the Horror Franchises Part 3. So, Kevin, you have a couple digital codes that you also can claim if you'd like to as well. Let's see. Congratulations, buddy. Let's see the Blu-rays. I felt the desire to not get the 4Ks for that very reason. Yeah, I don't like the color timing on 3 Colors Red. They asked me on the new Bond 4Ks are cropped. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten them yet. Like they are arriving today. I bought the 4K Steelbooks, and I did buy them from Amazon, which I always bitch and moan about Amazon. But you know what? They did not let me down this time. I have to give the devil their due. They did not let me down. The actual 4K Blu-ray shipped yesterday, and they are arriving today, unless something happens with the mail, which can happen. But they were shipped from Amazon correctly, so I can't sit here and say, "Oh, it's bad." Nothing. I don't know. They will be here today as promised. I really wanted the Steelbook, so I actually affirmed them. If you guys have ever used Affirm or Shop Pay, I affirmed these, so I'll be paying for them for until I decide to I just didn't have the money at the exact moment, but I really wanted those 4K Steelbooks, and like we were just saying, you got to pick some of your favorites, and these are the digital codes, guys. So just take a look at it for the winners. Kevin, John Doe Juggalo, and Holes, you have your choice of these, and I also do have the Sean Connery collection. So if you guys are interested in that, I believe those come with digital codes. Lethal Weapon and the Jurassic Park should have codes as well. So if you're interested in that, and don't forget, like I was saying, 5,000 subscriber giveaways are going to be coming up. The big one that I'm going to be giving away is Jaws' 50th anniversary 4K Steelbook. That shipped as well. And then I'm going to be giving away a bunch of Blu-ray packs, for people to start their collections if they'd like. Those were donated by John Doe Juggalo. Just a bunch of different things to do. My Dead Zone Steelbook is coming today from Amazon. William, have you ever seen the Dead Zone 4K Blu-ray? I don't know if you have the Shout Factory one, but if you didn't, I would really like to know what you think about that, because I truly believe that the Dead Zone 4K in general is one of the most underrated 4K Blu-rays around. I just don't think people realize how good that David Cronenberg film is, that they don't realize that 4K Blu-ray is sitting there. I just think underrated film, underrated 4K. And I want to answer this question from Emmanuel. This one's kind of just more for me personally, so we'll put it up there. But he wrote, how many movies have you seen in theater in your lifetime so far? I remember going to the movies in 2003, seeing the Hulk film. Since then, I've seen 80 movies in the theaters. So I don't keep track of how many movies I've seen in theaters, but I'm going to guess it's probably over 1,000 at this point. Pretty much since my childhood, I've always loved going to the movie theater. You guys have heard me talk about, I consider that it's a joke in a lot of ways, but it's also kind of true. It's a little bit cliche, but that is my haven't seen it yet. William, yeah, message me when you do see it, or comment or a video or something. I really want to know what you think of that Dead Zone 4K Blu-ray. I really think it's a high quality disc, so I'm really curious about that. Yeah, so just let me know what you think of that disc after you see it. But as far as going to the theaters, like I said, I probably, at least when I was a kid, when it wasn't my money, in the 90s and stuff like that, I probably went 10 times a year. My mom was a fan of the theaters. We had a tradition with my dad where, my dad might not have been the biggest movie fan, but it's easy with kids to take them to movie theaters. They just didn't realize how much of an impressionable child I was, and how that made an effect on my entire life, was going to the movies, and why movies are my favorite thing in the world. Big part of that is going to the movie theater. If I watch, obviously this is a physical media channel, but the movies come first, and the movie theater is my favorite place. So as I got older and I started getting money, I would go to the movies. And in the summers before I was 16 and had a job, I would go to the theaters all the time. I remember going at least once a week, but then it became twice a week, especially a local theater near me. A summer I can remember very well when they were replacing all the seats in a local theater, small theater in a shopping center, not the nicest screens. I didn't care. I just want to see the movies. But they were replacing the seats, and you could go see a movie for $4. They'd give you a folding chair, a beach folding chair, not even a regular steel one, so you were looking up at it. And I would see 2 or 3 movies a day. I remember numerous times in my life, I would see a movie 2 or 3 times a day. I just absolutely loved it. Here's Tim. And Tim, I got to answer you. He is a quick at work. My boss better not walk in. Movies are more important than work. Absolutely, Tim. Tim, I have your question about the 80s movies that I wanted to jump into. Kind of started to answer it a little bit, but I didn't give a full list. I have a video kind of out there, but not the same as what you're asking. I bitch about Scream Factory, but there are 4Ks that are normally top notch. Absolutely. Scream Factory, they're not perfect. That's the thing with Scream Factory, is they do make some mistakes. They label some things wrong. I've had it numerous times where they said something has Dolby Vision or Atmos and it doesn't, or the reverse on that, where they forgot to put the logo on it and it had it. So you got to be careful. But overall, Time Cop was a disappointment, but for the most part, they're still one of the best. It's just, you got to be honest. When someone makes a mistake or has flaws, you point it out. You point it out. Yes, I need my question answered. Oh man, I need the full 10, buddy. Been at the edge of my seat waiting for this. Yeah, I mean, I'll do yours as well. But if I had to do a guesstimation on how many movies I've seen in theaters, I at least see 50 movies in theaters each and every year, because I try and go every single week. I have the AMC A-List Stubs Pass. I do admit, like right now, I don't get as excited over every new movie like I used to. I am a little bit burnt out by superhero movies, but you got to go look for the other movies. Like I saw Bring Her Back yesterday. I'm going to see Life of Chuck on Thursday. Like the smaller movies, I want to go see those, like the indie horror films. Sinners was a great big screen experience, but I do go at least 50 times a year. So I'm going to guess over 1,000 times in my lifetime. There's definitely been years where I've hit that 100 movie mark in theaters. I just try and see it's harder now. I probably like 50 is like on the low end of my lifetime, just because like I try and make a point to go once a week. Just I find it therapeutic and relaxing to sit in the theater. If I can go alone. I'm not somebody who needs to go see with somebody. I find that these phones are a curse in a lot of ways, because it draws our mind. I just feel like in a movie theater, I'm never gonna like pull my phone out. I'm not one of those people. I sacred ground. You watch the movie, you let it wash over you. When you're at home, it's still great. It's just that I got the dogs. Married. Sometimes I got to get up and do something in the theaters. It's all right there. So I'm gonna go with over 1,000. Now, if I had to make a list of the top 10 movies from the 80s that I want on 4K Blu-ray, a little bit different than the list I made. Like I said, Big would probably be 100% right up there. I absolutely love Big. That's one Patty Jenkins. That's one from the 1980s starring Tom Hanks that I've always wanted on 4K Blu-ray. It's a little bit weird now when you look back on it, but Big is always one that I want up there. Number 2 would always be Twins. That's one that I've been waiting a long time for that to come to 4K Blu-ray. I got the Shout Blu-ray for like $5 not too long ago, just because I don't know if it's ever going to really truly come to 4K, but it has to, right? I mean, that movie was such a success in the 1980s. How does it not? New Big at the top and Twins. Yeah, of course, Big and Twins are up there. Luckily we're getting Lethal Weapon, and we've got The Nightmare on Elm Streets. Jason Lives is another one for me. I can do this haunted pillowcase about the Taco Bell. It's the early part. That's the problem. We start the show at 7:30, and it's hard for me to go out and get breakfast. Like, I wake up at 6, but I get the show ready, so it's a little bit tough. But I'm gonna do it. I know I'm gonna do it. I'm sure people do want to see it. What other movies I'm trying to think off the top of my head? Like, I wrote a list down. I should just pull up the list. 80s. I don't know why I try and think I memorize it. Like I can memorize everything. Like Over the Top is another one that I've always wanted. We've gotten so many great ones, but we just need a lot more. What else is one from the 1980s? We got in Blue Velvet. That's a huge one. What else did we Look Who's Talking for me is a big one. I know not everybody's going to care about Look Who's Talking. That's what I've always wanted. Going to see the Care Bears. Oh my god. That's great. The first movie I ever saw in cinemas that I can remember, the Care Bears movie, is ridiculous. That's crazy. Well, hey, mine was Casper the Friendly Ghost from 1995. I can remember seeing. I don't think it was the first one, but I can remember seeing that. What other movies from the 1980s? We've gotten Who Framed Roger Rabbit. We know there's a lot of like 20th Century Fox movies that have been stuck that we haven't gotten on 4K Blu-ray. What about The Burbs? The Burbs is another big one. Joe Dante, need that on 4K Blu-ray. We gotten Gremlins, so The Burbs is necessary. I think we can use that. I would like Money Pit starring Tom Hanks. I know that's not maybe the most beloved one, but that's a big one for me. Always enjoyed that movie, and it's always been very relatable since I bought a house, because your house is a fucking money pit. Let me just tell you. I think my first one in the cinema was E.T. That's a great one. I saw the E.T. I saw the 2002 version in there with the walkie-talkies instead of the shotguns. Oh, that's ridiculous. It's another one, and I just saw it recently, and Steven Spielberg's Always from the 1980s might not be the most loved one, but that's one I would like on 4K Blu-ray because I have to really enjoy a little film. 3 O'Clock High. This is a great coming of age. It's just a very cinematic film as well. It's your classic tale, like the bully's going to beat the kid up after school, but it's also really, really funny. That's a great 1980s film that has a Shout release, I believe, but that would be a great 4K Blu-ray as well. Would love to see that one. A lot of Tom Hanks ones, obviously. Yes, Money Pit's a huge one for a lot of people, I think. But, when they talk about Tom Hanks, they always think of his 90s run. They forget about his 80s comedy runs. And Turner and Hooch and K9, those for me as a dog lover. I would love both of those on 4K Blu-ray. Do we get Turner and Hooch? Maybe I would say if I had to put my money on one of them, Turner and Hooch mainly before K9. But those are like 80s comedies that are of the time that kind of have been forgotten about. Will we ever get them? Probably not. What's the movie? it's a Ron Howard movie. It's from the 1980s. Steven Guttenberg. The alien, the waters, the de-aging. I'm drawing a blank on it. Come on, I don't know what the hell the name of it is. It's a big one from the 80s, but that one's like been stuck where we don't even have a Blu-ray release that you can get anymore. But that's got to come to 4K Blu-ray at some time. But for me, the biggest one of them all is The Verdict. The Verdict has to come to 4K Blu-ray. How we have not gotten that yet is incredible. Cocoon. That's it. Cocoon. See, I wanted to say it was a C word. Yeah, thank you, Cocoon. Cocoon hasn't even, you can't even buy the Blu-ray anymore. You can't watch the movie. It's like almost impossible to watch Cocoon at this point, which is insane to me. Wilford Brimley is like, he looks like 1,000 in that movie. Meanwhile, he's like 45. But it's just, that's how guys age back at the time. But Cocoon is, that one that hasn't come. But The Verdict, Paul Newman's best film, has it. Sidney Lumet directing that. One of the greatest courtroom dramas of all time. That needs to come to 4K Blu-ray too. Would love to see that one day. Manhunter, that's the other huge one. How do you not have Manhunter on 4K? It's one that always comes up. Scream Factory has done a Blu-ray release of it with both cuts of the movie. And believe me, they put in the scenes from the old, they look like they were ripped right from a really rough cut of the movie to put that, insert them. So that really needs a big upgrade as well. At some point, we'll get that, right? But we'll have to wait and see on that. I truly believe, like, because we're running out of Michael Mann films to come to 4K. Last of the Mohicans has been rumored to come. We're getting Miami Vice, but Manhunter, we got Thief already, his other great 1980s film. But License to Drive. You know, it's funny. I was just watching the License to Drive trailer this morning. And it's funny because I'm thinking of the coffee cups, the 7-Eleven coffee cup that Uncle Phil has. What's his name? James Avery, the actor's name. But like, when the coffee spills and he gets his license, I was watching the clip this morning. Those 7-Eleven coffee cups look exactly like the 7-Eleven coffee cups that we have now. So, things always do come back around, which is pretty funny. But License to Drive, that's another, the Corys, that was a big time in the 1980s. I do love License to Drive, though. That would be another great one. The movie with, if you want like just like fun little, the movies with what the fuck is that? There's another really fun one of the 1980s having one of the Corys in it, but the Corys were into like a bunch. We gotten Stand By Me, we've gotten the Goonies, Back to the Futures, we've gotten a lot of the big ones. It's like now we got to get like some of the smaller ones that maybe people don't remember as much. Surprising that people don't really remember Manhunter as much, but Turner and Hooch was such a big deal to me. It's crazy we haven't gotten that. What other Al Pacino movies? We've gotten pretty much all of his. I think we got all the big baseball movies of the era. Is there any we've gotten pretty much every Oliver Stone movie on 4K. Thankfully, we got Platoon. A lot of people might argue we might need a redo. I can understand that, but I haven't watched that movie since the 4K Blu-ray came out. So, that one's a little bit up in the air as well. Trying to think what other, you guys have any 80s movies that you want to see come to 4K Blu-ray that haven't come out yet? There's always I always feel like that's like the forgotten era. People we've gotten a lot of the Best Picture winners. Empire of the Sun, we haven't gotten that 4K Blu-ray yet, if I'm correct. That would be a beautiful looking one. I already said Always. We gotten every Robert Zemeckis movie from that time yet? Oh, Used Cars has a 4K. Isn't that crazy? What about Explorers? Has that been released? No, I don't think Explorers has been released. And either I don't think every Joe Dante film of the time has been released yet. Revenge of the Nerds. That and Porky's are like persona non grata right now. But we do need those on 4K. I don't know how we haven't gotten those yet. Let's see what else. Wait, those ones probably, I'll be honest, we might not get them. Raising Arizona. How do we not have the Coen brothers, one of their best films on 4K? We got Blood Simple, but we haven't gotten Raising Arizona yet. That's a big one. I would love Raising Arizona to come to 4K. Did you see my last comment? Let me see. I'm sorry. Probably did not see it yet. Would you write, buddy? John, have you seen a film called 5/25/77? It's stepped deep in nostalgia for 70s films. Ooh. You might love it, as I did. I haven't seen that yet. 5/25/77. That's the release date of Star Wars, I believe, right? So I'm definitely going to have. Thank you for telling me that. I didn't see it. It completely went by me. Yes, we need the T2 transfer redone so bad. And that rumor has been floating around for about a year now that it's being redone, being reworked because they're aware of the issues, which is crazy because that was Studio Canal, who's usually so reliable. It was just a mistake in the 3D and how it was transferred over, and it was wiped clean. It was like, usually you don't see studios make a mistake like that, but I'm aware that they're aware. So hopefully we get that at some point because that's needed. It's so bad. So bad. Ooh, Lucas, 1986. Yeah. That's another one. we could use it. Short circuit movies need 4Ks. Those are surprises that haven't come to 4K Blu-rays yet. It's pure feel good bliss. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like nostalgic stuff like that, you get me some old clips of the era. People stand. I'm telling you, I'm a sucker for that. The old film stock, like old shitty VHS footage, like nothing can make me feel more nostalgic than like things like that. I'm telling you, it was such a simpler time back in the day. I hate like going like I always say you kind of lose your way if you like live in nostalgia, but like, that's why I still go to the movies and see new movies. Like, I don't want to lose my way with film. Like, I always want to make sure I see the new movies too, even though when I go watch an older movie, that's the stuff I love most. But that's just how it is as people. It's just that they always say like you start going back more once you get into your 30s, but I just purely love seeing like the old look of things, the way people used to live their lives. It's fascinating to me. I'm okay with mistakes as long as they fix it. Won't be surprised if they don't. I hope they fix it, man. I really do. 80s find me a time machine. I need to go back. Yeah, you missed it earlier. I was talking a little bit about Roadhouse because last night, I had I'm about to head into a big challenge for the rest of the month. That's why I've been working on my channel director's reviews recently, because once the Sean Connery 4K Blu-rays get here, I'm going to be doing a lot of 4K reviews. Got all 6 of those. I got 3 Jurassic Parks, and then of course I still haven't gotten my Brazil 4K Blu-ray, the Nice Guys 4K Blu-ray that I had pre-ordered because those got delayed. Sorcerer comes out at the end of the month on 4K, and of course Lethal Weapon's one of the ones I've been looking forward to most in my life to come to 4K. So a lot of 4K Blu-rays to be watching. But last night I had a free night, and my wife's a big Keanu fan. I've been on a little bit of a Keanu kick. So I've been watching, I watched John Wick again last week because that documentary, I don't want to spoil the review because it's something for my channel director, Kevin Kruger, but Wick is Pain. The documentary is great about Better Off Dead 4K is very important. Yes. I mean, there's so many ways you can go from the 1980s. But I watched Point Break last night because of that. And Point Break is one of my favorite action films of all time. This is the first time I watched it in the summer in a long time. But I had an absolute blast rewatching Point Break last night. It's one of those, again, it always just funny to me because it's just the Fast and Furious. The Fast and Furious just took so much from that movie. Point Break is so much of a better movie. And it's just because of the committed performance really from Patrick Swayze. Like, Keanu's good, but there's times where you're like, yeah, Keanu's doing his Keanu thing. He's not the greatest actor of all time, but the Swayze Express, man, he is gold in that movie from beginning to fucking end. I absolutely just think that he's the standout performance, and everybody Catherine Bigelow's direction for that movie is fantastic as well. So atmospheric when they're in the waves. I love that movie. Swayze is the king, coolest guy to ever live. I have to agree, man. Like, even that movie, like, you could be like, oh, it's always Swayze, but are you interested in Little Buddha? Yes. So it's funny. I saw that that's getting a 4K release. I've never seen that, but I'm interested in what that is. Like, I try and watch. Eventually, I try and come around and watch everything. It's just there's not enough time in the day. But I do want to check out that movie as well. So much stuff coming to 4K that I'm interested in. Is another movie? I think High Society is a movie coming to 4K Blu-ray pretty soon as well, like from Warner Brothers, like from Warner Archive. And they did a phenomenal job with The Searchers. This is their second 4K release. I'm very interested in checking that out. Just that I don't have enough. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly comes on 4K pretty soon as well. So there's just so much coming. It's gonna be tough to watch it all. So you gotta find the time. But yeah, Point Break was a blast. So when I got the time, I'll check that stuff out. But yeah, I'm definitely adding stuff to my list each and every day. I'll never get through it. You guys know the way. Matthew Broderick was almost Johnny Utah, and Ridley Scott was going to direct. Imagine that. I cannot imagine that. It's a good movie. I did a video about it. It's coming to 4K at the end of this movie, at the end of July. I never saw it, and I wanted to watch it to see if I want the Criterion release. And it's You Can Count on Me, which came out in 2000. That has Matthew Broderick in it, and he plays like kind of what you expect, like an adult Matthew Broderick. This guy played the coolest guy in the world in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but he's never been cool since, which is really fun to me. He always funny to me. He plays like a businessman. He always plays like a principal, a teacher. Like, he's always weaselly. Like, he never plays that cool guy. He never plays Ferris Bueller again. It's funny because it's just like he really plays the guys that Ferris Bueller would hate for the rest of his life. And he's great, and You Can Count on Me as this just horrible boss. But yet you kind of do care about him. But if you never saw hey, John, happy Tuesday. What's up, Dark Room Reviews? Make sure you guys are subscribed to him as well. But if You Can Count on Me, I can recommend that. It's coming to 4K at the end of July. I'm probably gonna grab it in the 50% off. That's why I wanted to check out that movie before. But Mark Ruffalo's great in it too. A young Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo, 25 years ago. The guy doesn't age. It's crazy to me. I'm not a huge Matthew Broderick fan for some reason. No, I'm not a huge Matthew Broderick fan either. Actually, I'm right there with you. I'm not a huge fan of his, but yeah, if he was the one in Point Break, that would have been crazy. What a different movie. Ridley Scott though might have done a good job. He's a very stylistic director. Passed to do it, Thelma and Louise instead, which is funny because I always felt like Thelma and Louise is the most like Tony Scott, Ridley Scott film there is, with the big music drops and everything like that, the style. But of course, Ridley Scott's direction is very different from Tony's, and I think that's why it's a little bit more of a focus movie. He too killed. Oh my God, driving on the wrong side of the road. I think that was in Ireland right before Dirty Dancing came out. By driving, yeah, that's fucked up. That's the thing about him. Matthew Broderick did do that. I remember hearing that story. He kind of got away with it, if I'm correct. And yeah, he's kind of I don't know. I never really was a big fan of his acting other than Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I was never really the biggest Ferris Bueller's Day Off fan either. That was one I kind of came around on. Is ET 4K still out of print? No, you should be able to get that right now. Let me double check while I'm on the air with you, just because I hope. ET is my favorite Spielberg film. Let me see. ET 4K Blu-ray. I would hope you could still get it. Yeah, 40th anniversary edition you can get right now on Amazon for $14, which is a steal. That's a very good 4K Blu-ray. 10 out of 10 4K? No, don't go into it expecting that, but it's a 9 is in Northern Ireland. Yeah, which is David's from Northern. The accident happened not too far from where I live. Yeah, David's right from over in that area. What you don't know is that the reason why the accident happened is because David ran across the street to get his Jaws hat. That's what caused the entire thing. I didn't know about that accident. Yeah, look it up. It's actually it's a fucked up story. Killed a woman and her daughter. Yeah, it's really messed up. And they almost like, I don't know, like what the true stories behind it. It's like kind of like two different sides. It's almost like he kind of got away with it almost because of who he is. It's kind of like always like the side I leaned on. But again, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know for 100% certainty. It's obviously who you ask, but a mother and their daughter died. Very, very messed up. Threw a rubber shark at the car. Yeah. That's what you don't realize. That's what a little 4-year-old or 5-year-old David was out there that day. And he's like, what the hell is with the car accident? I want to go to Ireland. Listen, Faith knows it. I've said it a million times. I don't like to fly, but I'm making one exception for my life. I have to go to Ireland. I got to meet David. I got to meet my buddy David. So, Tim, I've never met you either. You're my other buddy. Maybe me and you, we take a trip. We go to Ireland. We meet David in person. That way I could disappoint David with who I really am. We'll just go. But, I would do a live Let's Talk Movies podcast for once in person. But yeah, this week's show was great. I got to make sure I announce like what are the questions of the week going to be for this week. I'll put the post up probably tomorrow for next week. But, Kevin, you got 2 wins in you. So I'm just not going to put it on there just because you already have 2. You can get a couple digital codes, but we'll do the favorite movies from the 90s from family life, like that. This question right here. That'll be number 1. We'll do Rogue 167 top 10 TV shows on 4K. And then we will do this one. Obviously, it's the title of the card. What do you think is the most iconic movie character of all time? And what do you think is a movie that everybody know? Let's do it. Yeah, we're going. Definitely that I can visit Long Island. Yeah, we got to take you back here to Long Island. I don't know if I'll take it. We got to get you up to Martha's Vineyard. I mean, the Jaws fan that you are. At one point, that's where you'll come to Long Island. We'll take a trip up to upstate New York where Tim is, and then we'll go up to Martha's Vineyard so you can see where Jaws was filmed. That's the plan of attack. Upstate New York is much, much more beautiful than New York City. Let me tell you, you'll appreciate the scenery up there. Just not the greatest internet connection for the places that I've been. Which is really not a complaint. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on this week's show. I hope you guys enjoyed the entire thing. I have a blast doing this every week, chatting with Dennis, chatting with you guys in the chat. I hope you have a blast doing that, like I have a blast doing the show. And make sure you guys are paying attention. We got Jason Goes to Hell 4K Blu-ray review tomorrow. I might have my Dr. No 4K Blu-ray review by Thursday, fingers crossed. And then Friday is me and David's. We're going back into part 2 of Jaws. So hopefully you guys are ready. You want to catch up on part 1 before Friday comes out. I hope you guys enjoy it. We can do Anaerobic Adventure. We would love that. Adios, amigo. That's a classic line. Adios, amigo. I don't know if I can do it like Swayze, but I'll try. And goodbye, Mr. Smelly Potato. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Thank you to all my channel supporters. Obviously, Bankroll member, Mr. Smelly Potato. You got Uncle V. You got Kevin Kruger. Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews. I'm doing this off the top of my head. Ben, I know I'm forgetting your last name. Sounds perfect. We got to meet up at some point, guys. But David, Tim, see you guys all around. Thank you so much. Enjoy your days, guys.